This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Sunset Safari. We're starting with impalas on quarantine clearings, which is pretty much par for the course. It seems like we're going to have an interesting afternoon from a weather perspective. It looks like a few ominous clouds that potentially could be rolling in, which hopefully won't mean that we get rained on, because once again, Gert and I have backed the weather, and we have not taken a roof this afternoon. Oops. Anyway, my name is Tristan. On camera, as I just said, I've got Gert. Nice to have you on board, Gert. Gert gave me a thumbs up, everybody. I feel lucky and honored that I got one and none of you did. Anyway, we are coming to you live from South Africa, so we'd love to hear from all of you. Remember that you can send through your questions on hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat stream, as well as any of the comments boxes on the various other platforms we stream to on the website. And for kids, we always love to hear from you guys too. It's been nice lately. We've had a lot of kids' questions, which has been good. You guys can send your questions through to kidsquestions at wildearth.tv. Wondrous. All right, so the plan is for this afternoon, while we're sitting with these impalas to start with, we are going to try and head southeast. We were in the west a little bit this morning. Didn't really have too many things to look at. So we're going to try and head southeast. We'll go and see what's on Chitwa. Maybe we get lucky with Tundi or Marips. That side, you never know. Tsemba might be around, as well as Kuchava, or we know Subuyi's on a kill. I think Lauren, hopefully, fingers crossed, is going to be able to come out with Wendy. She made a strong start, and then as soon as she got out the gates, the Wendy started giving problems again. So I don't know what's going to happen there, whether she'll be back on dam cam or out. But if she's out, she'll go to Subuyi. Otherwise, we'll check in at Subuyi a little bit later. And then there was Dark Main as well. But I think we'll keep Dark Main for around the sunset period, maybe the last hour, see if we can get him roaring. He should be finished with that zebra carcass by now. And hopefully there will be some semblance of movement for the first time in 5 days. 4 days. 4 days? 4 days. Yeah. Anyway. We'll see how that goes. So a few options to go through. It's also quite warm this afternoon, even though there's a bit of cloud cover. It's not that same temperature that we had the last couple of days where it's been quite cold and cloudy. Today is at least fairly warm and cloudy, and so maybe Ellie's will be out. Try and see if we can find some of them. We'll just be greedy. Let's just want everything and anything, but the general direction will be kind of aiming towards Chitwa once we finished up with these guys. But you can tell there's a bit of cloud cover. If it was sunny now, I'm pretty sure none of these impalas would be out on these clearings at the moment. To be a little bit too warm for them. Now, I was telling you guys that it's overcast but warm. So let's take a look at what the weather's going to be like for here in Pridelands this afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome on Bushwalk. Yes, it is a very cloudy afternoon, and we're also suspecting the potential of rain this afternoon. However, the rain has done us incredibly good over the last few days, and there's a lot of fresh leaves on the trees. And this is specifically what these giraffe is now targeting. There's at least 5 of them there at the back, which we are busy watching. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Davi. Hello. So let's see what our giraffes are getting up to. We just thought maybe that we'll do is a short little silent segment on the giraffe while we're watching them. We can also just listen to the sounds of the birds in the background. There's at least 2 calves in the group as well. We noticed that the majority of them is all cows. And there's a potential of 1 bull that is associating with the group as well. However, the bulls don't really stick around for very long. They just come and check, see if any of the females are in a reproductive condition, and then move off if they're not. We're going to stick around here a little bit longer and see what our giraffe gets up to, and hopefully we'll be able to get a better view. Let's go and see what the rest of the team is up to. Our giraffes now all seem to have moved off. I can just see one there through the back of the vegetation. I find it amazing how those patterns help them to actually blend in with their environment, but also at the same time, those blocks also act as mechanisms to actually regulate their temperature, so they can actually tolerate way more heat than many other animals can do, and those blocks allow for the dissipation of heat.
Well, we are just bumbling along, talking about heat and toleration of heat. Thankfully, it's not too hot today, and we don't have to worry too much. There's 2 little squirrels. Sorry, Khat, I might be in the way, but hopefully they'll go up the marula tree. No, car, stay. There we go. 2 little squirrels that have just run across the road, and they typically don't stay for too long. You can see the one further up on the branch. It looks like it's got an old marula nut in its mouth at the moment. It seems like the 2 of them are chasing each other around over this marula nuts. It's a surprise that they have one, because at this time of the year, most of the marula nuts that are around should have already been processed by the various squirrels. You know, we're right at the end of the winter period, start of the spring, and marula trees will start fruiting again pretty soon. And because of that, most of the squirrels have found the nuts that are lying around, and they've nibbled out the little nut inside that seed pod. So I don't know, maybe it just thinks there's still one in there. Who knows? But definitely trying to get away from the other one. The other one stayed on the marula tree and is just watching in that direction, which is par for the course. I like these little guys. They can be an absolute pain from an alarm call point of view, because they alarm call at absolutely everything out here, including their own reflection at times. Or not that there's a reflection of them often, but I'm talking about other squirrels. So they make a lot of noise and generally full of beans, but they're busy and always like that. And especially in winter when it's cold, you see them all kind of cuddled up together and trying to get warmth from one another. It can be quite cool to watch them in those phases. And then eating these marula nuts is like watching a surgeon at work, in the way that it'll twist that nut and then just uses those scissor-like, or chisel-like is probably a better description of those front teeth, and it just kind of edges out the marula nut and then pops it out and feeds off that. It just goes to show, though, how many marulas fall, that squirrels can still find a nut at this time of the year. You can imagine how many they've picked up over the past 6 months, 7 months since we've had marulas. All right, we're going to carry on. We'll leave our squirrels to themselves, go and see what else we can find.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it is a good afternoon because I am not on the time cam. Wendy is out. Good girl. She's actually fine. It's not the mechanics, it's the tech. But anyway, we're very happy to be out. My name is Lauren, and I do have Impo on camera. And I'm laughing because we were looking at Darkmane the other night, and Geert took a photo of his paw and put an M in front of it and said it's now Impo. Yeah. You know, we need to entertain ourselves somehow out here. Anyway, that story done. I'm going to bumble south. I'm taking Zoe's. Tristan's right. There are some strange-looking clouds in the sky, but that's okay. We're going to hit the south. I want to see Missy's wig, and I also want to see if maybe Subuyi's still around. That would be so nice to see her. And, of course, the hyenas that were lurking around. Goodness, I miss them. So that's my plan, but you know what it's like out in the bush, not everything goes to plan, but that's my agenda. I think agenda's a better word than plan, actually, agenda. And we'll take it from there. Let's hope it does not rain. I've also taken a bit of a risk like Tristan and not put the rain roof on. Yes, anyway, let's hope it doesn't rain. But Tristan did mention this morning that it's looking very possible that Subuyi might have lost both cubs. I knew she had lost one, and there's a high chance, I guess we don't know, that she's lost another one, which is really rather sad, as Darby and I managed to get permission to go into Little Gowrie to visit that den, and it was really one of my most precious sightings to date. Hello, little Steenbok. Oh, can you get it from here, Impa? Impa? We see you. Yes. But you're doing very well at staying hidden. Some of the Steenboks out here are really, really, I guess, habituated and just very brave. It's not until you stop the vehicle, that's when they run. But I mean, when you're driving past, they won't even bat an eyelid. But the minute you stop, what's happening is they know, aha, they have spotted me. Or they think we've spotted them. And that's when they realise, But right now, this little one clearly thinks it's hidden. And you are. You are. I love Steenbok. Okay, let us bumble Impaw. That joke is never going to get old, especially due to the fact that it was Darkmane's paw. His ginormous paw. I believe Darkmane is also still around, so we may pop in and say hello to him. But he most likely will be sleeping, I'm sure. Here, yes they are. Steenbok are the smallest. They're sort of nicknamed the dwarf antelope, and they really are tiny. When you see them, they're very small. And they're smaller than the duiker, but those two are the smallest out of all the antelope we get in this area. And because of their size, it changes everything about them. It changes the sort of, well, they've got very small territories naturally, and it changes the social structure and how they live. They're actually monogamous, which is unusual for a sort of mammal. And they also don't they're not seen with others unless it's a mating pair where you will see the male follow the female. They don't live in herds or big groups because it's safer for them. It's safer for them to be alone rather than be obvious. Imagine a big herd of Steenbok. I think that would actually be really sweet if we saw like 20 of them. But that's why you will only ever really see one. But you can spot the pair normally if you stay for long enough because their territories are small and they like to remain in sort of visual contact with one another. So they don't stay together, but they like to know, he's over there, I'm just keeping my eye on him. So very often if you just sit still for long enough, you will sort of see the pair. So I'm going to keep bumbling south, and I believe Tristan has made it to a waterhole.
All right, well, Lauren keeps bumbling south. We've just come towards Gowrie Dam, just changed direction slightly because there was a car that took Twin Dams, and I heard Lauren was back out, and so she's going down Weaver's Nest, and another car took Zoe's, so there's no real reason to go south any further, so I'm going to go a little bit north, actually, and then come down south towards Chitwa a little bit later. But we found ourselves a nice giraffe bull. This is the guy that's got the horrible leg wound at the moment. It really does look extremely uncomfortable. I'm not sure that he's exactly thrilled about a wound like that. Now, this wound is interesting because for a long time we were never sure what was going on, and then I can't remember who it was. Someone sent us an article, or sent Jamie actually an article about it, and it was basically to do with there's a parasitic worm that gets into the legs of giraffe, and it can cause, particularly on the hind leg, can cause these massive wounds to develop. which is pretty crazy. They do heal up and kind of go back down, and then they swell up again. It's a pretty horrible thing to have. But you can see how the oxpeckers also are doing huge amounts of damage to that wound. As that wound is swelling out and it's starting to get big, and the oxpeckers are coming and pecking at it, and they're opening that wound out, and it's getting to the point where they're able to actually siphon off blood out of there. Remember, a lot of people always, when we talk about oxpeckers, think parasitic animal, well, an animal that eats parasites off these guys. That's not really what they're after. While the tick forms a function, it's like basically getting a chocolate bar in a wrapper. It's a completely different thing, but it's, kind of serves a purpose. But an edible wrapper, let's put it that way. Because the tick is the vessel for blood from the animal. Now, oxpeckers don't have the utensils to draw blood from an animal, other than if it has a wound. So if they have a wound, then they can peck at it, it bleeds, and they can then drink the blood. But in terms of if it's an animal that's healthy, ticks do all the work for them. So ticks with their harpoon-like jaw structure dig in and drill in, and they are able to take the blood out, and then the oxpecker feeding off the tick is able to then process that insect and basically get the blood out of it and utilize that blood. So they form a super important role in that regard. But when they have wounds like this, they're an absolute pain for an animal like a giraffe, because they just constantly keep that wound open and stop it from healing, and it kind of festers and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they don't heal very well. But for the oxpecker's point of view, it's like a little never-ending fountain. You go to some of those fast food chains and you can get like bottomless sodas. It's pretty much like that. They just go and help themselves when they need it. So they constantly will work those wounds and try and keep them open. Gert, can you see if there's any yellow bills on this giraffe? They're all red bills. Got quite a lot of yellow bills around lately, all red. Because of the buffalo herd that's been hanging around, that big one, what that's causing is a lot of yellow bills to be around on that herd particularly, and there's quite a number of them throughout that herd. And because the buffalo have been cycling through, those yellow bills are transferring onto other animals. So we're seeing them sometimes on impalas, giraffe, wildebeest, not so much, but they can be around them, and then obviously the buffalo themselves. So it's always good just to check these giraffe and make sure. It's not a very common thing to see yellow bills on giraffe here. If you go up into a place like the Masai Mara, then it's a pretty common place to see the yellow bills all over the giraffe there. But in this environment, not so much. This particular bull is super chilled. I enjoy him. I'm pretty sure we could drive up towards where he is now and he wouldn't move. I had him the other day right next to the road, and I thought, I'll just bypass him because we were heading home and we were finished with the show. I thought he'd just kind of slowly saunter off like giraffe generally do. But no, he just stood there and just looked down on us as we drove past. It was pretty ridiculous to be within sort of a 2-meter radius of a giraffe without him moving. You might hear some splashing in the background. It's an Egyptian goose that's just having a little bath in the dam, making lots and lots of noise. If they're not honking and hissing, then they're finding other ways to make noises. They really are a noisy bird, Egyptian geese. Alrighty, I'm going to probably carry on. We'll probably leave this giraffe to itself, let it carry on feeding on this tree. I think it's a buffalo thorn that it's feeding on at the moment. And in the meantime, let's send you across to what you can expect if you come out and join us here at Djuma.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're busy looking at a russet bush willow, which the giraffe was busy feeding on. I walked past this very same area a few days ago, less than 48 hours ago, and there was barely a leaf on this tree. It's amazing how quickly the leaves started shooting out, and it's probably so nutritious, and this is why the giraffe came to feed over here. If we look slightly higher up against a tree, we'll actually notice how the leaves have been stripped off with a prehensile tongue. For those of you that has joined us for the first time, that tongue is up to 45 centimeters long. That's quite amazing. It's also covered with a very unique saliva that generally deflects thorns off the tip of the tongue, protecting the tongue from any form of damage. In the case of the combretums, there's no thorns to worry about. So just to come back to those seed pads that we can see on the tree, they got that russet brown color where the tree gets its name from. And then bush willow is a group described as one of the members of the combretum family. The others are cluster leaves, which we also find in this area. One of the differences is that the combretums has got 4 wing pods, while the silver cluster and the cluster leaves all have a single 2-leaved flat pod by which we can identify them. These pods can also be used for the making of tea. It's however said that you have to remove the seed from the inside, otherwise it can be toxic. For some reason it doesn't bother monkeys and baboons, who also occasionally will feed on these seed pods. Well, we're going to move on and go and see what else we can go and find. Let's see what Lauren is up to.
We do have a juvenile martial eagle. It was very close to the car, but sadly it flew off. And some of you will know martial eagles are just, I love them. And this is not even an adult. And it flew over the car and it sat next to the tree right next to us. And the size of this bird, I mean, they are the biggest raptor we get out here. But to actually see it, it is a big bird. And it's definitely a juvenile. You can see by the coloration, the juveniles, it's at a stage where it looks very patchy. It just looks immature. It just looks like it's not developed yet. Oh, I love marshals. I'd love to see one hunt. I mean, I've seen the aftermath many times in the Masai Mara. We used to actively go and find them. We were really quite involved with the martial eagles and the Mara Raptor project up in the Masai Mara. It was one of the best times of my career at WildEarth, just getting sent GPS points and sort of the message being, go. Here's your GPS points, go. There's your coordinates, go find out what's going on. And you would just race there and you'd have to investigate the scene and report back, and you can actually identify exactly what raptor pair it is. They've all got names, they're all tagged. Then you can normally identify who made the kill, what the kill was. And wow, I know I've probably told the story a lot, but there was impalas. There were other raptors, scrub pairs. These birds really can take down pretty much anything. Well, maybe not an elephant, but you know what I mean. Very powerful birds. Okay, we're going to keep bumbling south and see what else we can find.
Here we are. We are on an expedition. This is the expeditionary force. Behind me, we have seen Tlalamba. We are very excited.
is day 1 of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition. And our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
It's either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, with our giraffe, just now we were talking about how you can get so close to this guy and he doesn't really move. We actually were right up against the bank and he was feeding next to us, and then we just pulled forward a little bit. He's moving along in his consuming of trees. So he started out on a buffalo thorn and ate off that for a little while. And buffalo thorns are notorious for developing high tannin levels very, very quickly. So you'll find most animals don't feed off them for very long. They have super nutritious leaves, which is why they've got the thorns that they've got. You know, that hooked thorn and that straight thorn is to try and defend this plant as much as possible. But a secondary defense of that is that the buffalo thorn flushes tannins very quickly. And that means that the giraffe can't feed on it for long. It's got to kind of move off pretty quickly. The apple leaf too is kind of done now, and now off he goes. Shame. That leg looks a little tender as he walks off. But you realize how big these animals are when you see them this close. These giraffe are absolutely massive creatures, especially when they're sitting right next to you like that and kind of just staring at you. Pretty incredible. All right, off he goes there. I think let's carry on. We're going to take a Vubu road and we'll just kind of bend up towards the boundary, the northern Buffelshoek boundary, and we'll see what we get from there. And then, like I say, we'll turn east. Try and head towards Chitwa. Tandian Marich is going to be an interesting one because the guys are telling me they had a drag mark yesterday for them inside Torchwood, not far from Gowrie Main, but they said it was a very small animal that she was dragging. No doubt a scrub hare or a duiker, knowing Tangi. So I'm pretty sure that will be finished now. And then there's a choice for them. After a day like today where there's been a bit of heat, then, you know, we've got a situation where most of the little pans should have dried. There shouldn't be too much water on the surface of the roads or in these pans. And that will mean that they have to go to water after a kill. And generally they do. They don't have to, but generally they do. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see them heading towards either Ledwood Dam or Chitwa Dam, which is why I want to go and check Chitwa. As for Shasha, no sign of him this morning. Where we left him was just up straight on this road. Remember, we had him and then we left and we found the lions coming through the block straight to where we lost him. So I don't know where he went from there. No one found any signs. So what we'll do is I want to check that boundary in case he cut further east and has gone towards somewhere like Buffelshoek Dam. We know he does go into Torchwood and also even into Buffelshoek, but you know, maybe we can pick up a sign for him too. It was such a treat to have him yesterday for the whole afternoon. I enjoyed spending time with old young Shasha yesterday, and he was busy, which was nice. It was not a great block that he was in, but the actual sighting was pretty decent. All right, while we go and search for various predators and anything else that we can find, let's send you across to JP, who's actually got tracks for a predator.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. While Tristan is looking for lion, we are looking at lion tracks that's been made in the last 2 days. So a few days ago it started raining and we had a large accumulation of water in this area, and we can see where this lion actually walked through a muddy area, creating an even larger appearance to the footprint. Just to show you in comparison to my hand, how big it is. So here we go. There's our toes in the front over here, and then the main pad right over here. You can see it's almost a little bit of a slide over here because of the mud. But generally the back pad is fairly straight if we look at it. One of the things that you can use to separate it from hyenas, as well as hyena is much smaller in comparison to that of a lion track. Also with hyenas, we would have noticed that there was tiny nail marks on the tip of each of those toes, which is not present with lion, as they retract their toes inside the sheaths to protect them against wear and tear. They'll also spend a lot of time making sure that they sharpen those nails against trees, and at the same time they also will deposit a scent gland with the interdigital glands between the feet while they're actually scratching on the side of trees. It's very important to keep them sharp because you need them as weapons against other male lions that might try and overrun you in your territory, as well as you need to grapple onto prey and drag that down. So the only times that we do normally see the toenails marking in the track of a lion is just before they pounce on a prey item or as they grapple it. And a few weeks ago we actually did see that with a leopard, as the nails marked in the track as where it took down the impala. And then shortly afterwards, that poor leopard lost its meal to a number of hyenas that dragged off the carcass for several hundred meters, and we followed the blood spoor all the way through the bush until we actually managed to track down the remains of the impala carcass. There's a few other field signs over here as well, which also belongs to lion. If we just pan over here, incredibly large segments of dung that we can see over here. We can also see that there's a lot of calcium in it this time, which we normally tend to find with hyena. But if you look closer, there's also a large amount of hair inside the dung, which you don't always see in hyena dung. So when it comes to the dung or scat of predators, it's not always the exact science, and it can be quite tricky, and there's a lot of inconsistencies or variations which can lead to differences in size, and that might include the amount of moisture that the animal has eaten, what it has eaten, if it was maybe ill, and also how much meat is inside the food that they were eating and how much blood they actually managed to absorb during that period of time. A lot of different variables. Even when it comes to animals such as antelopes, the separation from different species by means of dung only can be very tricky, and it's always helpful to actually have a physical track next to it on the ground to actually make your end conclusion. We're going to move off and go and see what else we can go and find.
Well, JP is moving off. We're just still bumbling north on Vubu Road. Just checking what we can find here. So where I lost Shasha last night was just here on my left-hand side. It looks so gentle and so easy now. It was not so gentle and so easy in the dark, I can assure you. Definitely put poor Rusty through its paces yesterday, and I was trying to get the brakes sorted today, but fortunately the mechanic wasn't able to get it right, so we'll have to try again tomorrow to get those done. I'm sure we'll get it right. It doesn't seem to be too much of a thing. It's probably just a little brake line that needs replacing. But yeah, so he was here, and then the lions walked. So where I left him was just on the left here, about 30 meters into the block, and the lions walked straight on the road here about 20 minutes after we had left him. So I don't know if he had already crossed out and the lions were sniffing around in this area and noses to this sort of wind, or if he had just stayed in the drainage and they just bypassed him. Not 100% sure, but we'll just check around here and see. Maybe we get a track that we can work with. Although if we pick up a track for Shasha here, you know, we almost 24 hours behind him, which is a very, very long time, and it could be a long, long way behind a leopard like that. You saw yesterday when I showed you on the map how far he was moving. It was little Shasha. It was a long, 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 long way from me as a start point. So I'd expect the same from him last night and today, unless, of course, he managed to catch himself a meal, in which case then obviously he would have been far more stationary. try and negotiate this horrible little section here. The kudu. Being very aware of things. Let's check around this area and see. Oh, spots of pygmies. Nice. Alright, so I'm going to keep checking around. We'll do the boundary and see if anything is on the boundary.
I have had luck already, everyone. One of my favorites is lying, sleeping in the grass here. Now, I don't know who it is yet. Who are you? Hello. But we have just dipped our toes into Little Gowrie. As you know, Little Gowrie is just an incredible property, and Polly from Little Gowrie is just the best. And the bestest of them all. And we occasionally get to come in to see things. So we are going to follow up on Subuyi, but I just wanted to have a look at this hyena. Actually, I think we can get a little bit closer and pull. A bit too far from my liking. That injured male hyena is still wandering around. He's still being seen. What about here? Is this a better view? I think so. Perfect ears. I wonder who you are. Oh, so good to see hyenas again. I miss talking about them. I miss engaging with you all about them.
Good afternoon, all stations. Kevin from Cruise Camp out and drive.
Good afternoon, Kenneth. And I just miss learning about them. I'm convinced that the hyenas here are so different from the hyenas in the Mara because of so many factors. It's a very, very different area, different habitat, different ecosystem. And I'm convinced there's a lot more we have to learn about the low-felt hyenas. I mean, we see them when they're den-bound, but when they're not den-bound, it's very difficult to follow them, keep up with them. It's a lot easier in the Mara, and they do have ones that are collared. Waffles, I'm actually not sure if Waffles is still around. He's such an epic hyena. And her son, Torani, I think it's Torani, also wears a collar. But this is why we're really not seeing the hyenas. They do come into Djuma. They're wanderers. They roam. They're like the plankton, actually. Plankton of the bush. They go with the flow. But in all seriousness, they have shifted a little bit, just in their movements. I'm not saying necessarily it's been a complete territorial shift, but in their movements, they are spending a lot more time on Little Gowrie and Chitma and properties that are south. And that's why we're not seeing them so often, because any time there's a leopard, or I guess even lions, on a kill, you see a lot of clan members. Impo, do you see at 3, or actually maybe 4 o'clock, there's a little wall. You see the slender mongoose there. I'll direct you. It's posing perfectly. Okay. Yep, further. No, right. Along the wall. Keep going. Zoom out. Ah, there you go, you got it. Here. See? Look at my finger on the monitor. There we go, slender mongoose, we see you. Haha. I love getting slenders on camera because it's so rare, few and far between. we're far enough away. It's obviously a long distance visual, but it's a slender mongoose. Look at that tail, that black tip at the end. We have a lot of them in camp, actually. But they're just not so easy to put on camera. And you can see they're very, very obvious by their long, slender bodies, and they're slightly more rufous than the other ones. The other ones are very dark brown, but when you see these ones are obviously slightly more rufous, chestnutty colour, with that long black tip. You get it posing so perfectly. Thank you, Mr. Slender, or Mrs. Slender, I don't know. FC, can you just confirm if we're still live or not?
Welcome back on Bushwalk, and we do apologize about that tech issue that we had there. Djuma and Lauren will probably be back very soon. In the meanwhile, what am I doing? I'm busy scratching an elephant dung, something that I do like doing, and I was actually looking for tracks as well as signs of what could have potentially be scratching over here. But the swirl surrounding the elephant dung is quite hard, and there's no physical track that's been left. I suspect that it actually might have been some hornbills as well as some francolins that were looking for insects or seeds inside the dung of the elephant. Generally, I just always check underneath the dung as well, where I will see fresh little tunnels that's been created by dung beetles, which pulls down dung sometimes directly underneath the dung pad. And there's no indication of dung that's been pulled underneath the dung pad. So when it comes to tracks and the soil, it can often make it very hard to actually age a track. I was just recently asked by one of the viewers, there was a question about how long can a track remain and how long will it stay fresh. It's a lot of variables to that answer as well. And one of them can be weather, so elements such as rain, wind, and even the soil type can influence how long a track will remain on the ground. I was also asked by Cassie with regards to the lion track, can I age the lions by the size of a track? I can normally tell you if it's a male, it's a female, and I can tell you that it's a sub-adult male, but it's very difficult to physically age a track. Just like us, lions come in all different sizes and shapes. Some of them are bigger than others, and therefore they might actually leave a slightly larger imprint, as well as the size of the imprint on the ground can be a little bit difficult to judge at times if you were going to try to do something like age, because the soil type can also allow for a larger imprint on the ground, especially mud, and creates a larger imprint than that a hard soil type would, for example, do. So if you have a look over here onto my left-hand side, camera's right, there's quite a large pieces of elephant dung that's been freshly left over here. We had a breeding herd of elephants that came through here just a few hours ago. And the reason why I know that it's a breeding herd that came through is the variable sizes of the tracks. Some of them are incredibly small. There we can see dung that's not been opened up by Franklin's. So in terms of age, this was most likely opened up long before that the upper pile of dung was actually deposited. And we actually went to go to the dung, and I pushed my hands inside there to look at the temperature. If it was still nice and warm, we would definitely be following up on those elephant tracks to see if we could show you some elephants. Unfortunately, that's ice cold, and they probably have left here some few hours ago already. Well, I must probably get up and go and see what else we can find. Good afternoon, Maria, and welcome to the show. It actually smells incredibly nice to actually, when you are actually holding it. It smells like plant. And what is even more amazing is if you actually burn it, and it releases the most beautiful aromatic scents. And you can actually use it for deterring mosquitoes when you're out there at a fireplace at night in the bush. Or you can also use it for opening up your chest by simply burning it and putting a blanket or a towel over your head and inhaling the smoke to assist with the treatment of chest ailments. For me, it just smells very nice, and I burn it because it almost has like a calming effect on me. And that doesn't mean that there's any form of narcotics inside it. Well, I don't know if there's any other viewers that still has questions. Otherwise, we're going to move off and see what else we can go and find.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
I think sometimes you need just to listen. So it's a kind of taking out all that other spirit and bring back wilderness and healthy. Bushwalk and trek and sign. I'm sure I'm good at that. I spend most of my time on the ground since I was a young boy, so I think I'm good with that. Actually, I'm not much nervous of any category. Just take it as it is. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on what the judges are looking at. So chances are 50-50 on my side. I'm not... Obviously, when you go for a competition, you say you win.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we've made it to the site that I believe Subuyi was this morning. And I think this is little Ngwazi that we were just looking at there. I recognize that face. It's got a very easy to identify little face. Ngwazi. Ngwazi is Ribbon's only remaining cub, although he's much older now. He was also a March baby, same as Maribs. I'll never forget that. In 1 month, March 2020, we got Ngwazi, Shimbulu and Maribs. It was quite a special month. And there's another hyena up the top of the embankment. I haven't been able to ID that one yet. Now, no sign of Subuyi, and I don't know if she'll come back. But I'm just happy to be with some hyenas, to be perfectly honest with you. They're still here, which means there must be food in that tree. I haven't seen it yet. I'm just going to get my binoculars out. But there must be something. Hyenas are very patient, but they're not stupid. From what I can gather, there wasn't much on that carcass. But they're here for a reason, and that's the reason. I actually can't see anything, to be honest. I didn't catch that name. I've got really bad comms at the moment, so apology. But no, they don't necessarily get together every night, but clan members will contact call, and therefore they will recognize each other. They recognize their own clan members, and just like lions, I guess, in a pride or in a coalition, they contact call. Hyenas do the exact same thing, so they can join up. They also can just spend the night alone. They're feeling like a chilled one. But I've had some sightings where you see lots of clan members all together. So they do keep in contact with one another, but it's not sort of necessary that they'll all meet up every single night. But there's a really fascinating paper, I talk about it a lot, and it's all about social alliances in spotted hyenas by Kay Holcamp from the Masai Mara. And she's not from the Masai Mara, but she has a project based there, sorry. It's a fantastic paper, and it's all about hyenas do make what I'm going to loosely put in quotation marks, friendships. They do form bonds or alliances to some individuals more so than others. You will find friendships, and Corky and Pretty, that was a fantastic friendship. They were definitely very close. Even Waffles in the Mara, she had her little gang. That was how she managed to take over. She had a gang of three including herself. And Ribbon and Ntima's mother and daughter, but there's a really strong bond there, and you can see that. Oh, hello. Oh, that's definitely Nguaz. I have missed you. You're getting so big. My goodness, like a proper little hyena. He's still small though. Definitely not fully grown, that's for sure. Kirsten, you are asking, is it true a hyena's laugh indicates the social status? I'm just going to double check that. Info also has no comms. We're working it. Okay, A-firm. No, not at all. They will recognize each other's giggle or laugh, so they will understand who it is, but it doesn't indicate social status at all. They all laugh. Well, it's not really a laugh. It's sort of a noise that just sounds to the human ears like giggling. And it's normally when they're actually quite nervous. It's sort of that kind of giggle, not really like a human ha 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 ha. And it's normally when they're quite nervous or there's a situation. It's not a joyous, happy sound, like they are reuniting together after not seeing each other for some time and they laugh. It's not like that. We just call it a giggle because to the human ear it sounds like a giggle, but it's a very unique noise, and they actually have 14 different calls. The most iconic one, of course, is a whoop. Very iconic sound of the African bush. There's lots of different vocalizations they make, from the squittering of a cub to all sorts of noises, and they can all recognize all 14 calls from every individual. Now that's incredible. That shows you right there that they're intelligent. I don't think they get recognized enough for their remarkable intelligence, to be honest. They're survivors. They've never been taken out by rabies or anthrax or canine distemper. I mean, they're not canids. They've never been hit by big outbreaks. They're able to survive against some fierce predators out here. Hyenas are survivors. Okay, I think I'm going to stay here just a little bit longer, assess, figure out what's going on, and we are going to send you guys over to JP.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. Just to answer Marie's question again, yes, it smells absolutely beautiful, and we thought that we'll demonstrate how we can actually burn it, and then how you can inhale the smoke to actually clean up your chest, and it helps with chest ailments as well, as mentioned earlier. So what I also find particularly interesting is that it often gets burnt by people that are collecting honey, and what they will do is they will actually use this to smoke out the bees from the hives. We also find that quite often in rural areas where people will farm for subsistence, elephants can also become problematic in terms of destroying a single crop that's meant for a whole year within a few hours. So what they also will do with this dung is they will mix the wet dung with chili powder and then dry it, and then also burning it. But to come back to the bees, one of the other things that I find particularly fascinating is that we've also been recently encouraging a number of different people from rural communities to actually start having aviaries on the edge of their crop fields. And the reason is that they can actually start farming with honey, sell that honey back into the community or to lodges. But also at the same time, elephants don't like bees, and they're very quick to actually move off when they start finding bees quite close by to them. You can also use dry elephant dung to transport a coal. So one of the indigenous ways of making fire is actually by means of a friction stick and a base plate. And if you are going to move off the next day and you don't want to go through all of that effort to produce a new coal by means of a friction stick and base plate, you can simply put a coal inside here and then carry it with you as it smolders very slowly. Once it's also smoldering, it's also perfect. It just releases the right amount of heat so that you can cook on the elephant dung as well. So we're going to move off and go and see what else we can go and find. But I'm just firstly going to make sure that we do put this out, as I do not want to become known as the guy that burnt down pridelands. Oh, just get some more of that in. I love it. Yeah, you can use most of it. I've used zebra as well with base plates before to make fire, and especially if it's nice and dry, it's nice and fine. You actually cut a little wedge in on the side of that base plate, and you put that zebra dung at the base, and once that a little bit of it also on the area where you can put your friction stick, and then it helps to actually produce that little coal to fall in. And what you must do is you also must make sure that you've got sufficient small pieces of material to add onto it. Quite often the biggest mistake that people do make is when they are making fire by means of friction is to not have a sufficient amount of different size materials to slowly add onto the fire to build it effectively. What else have I burnt? In the past I've actually slept on rhino dung. That's very nice and comfortable. I took a lot of it to sleep out one night while we were sleeping out in the bush. I haven't burnt that yet. But the heat that's generated from underneath it eventually keeps you nice and warm as well. It does smell a little bit, but it's not bad. But definitely we won't be trying to burn anything that belongs to a carnivore. Well, let's go and put this out. I think the best place to actually go and put it out is in a dam. Let's go and see what the others are up to in the meanwhile.
Well, while JP is finding elephant dung and various other things, we are still bumbling along. We went past Buffelshoek Dam. It was quiet, to say the least. The dam that promises so much but never delivers. I don't know why that dam isn't busier than what we see. It's just got like the right recipe for everything, but yet just quiet. There's not a lot of elephant there, not a lot of buffalo go there. seems like everything prefers Gowrie Dam over Buffelshoek. I wonder if it's because of the little pumped pans that are close to Gowrie Dam, that the water, they can kind of, like in the elephant's case, they can spray and sort of cool down at the main dam, and then they can drink from the pumped pans at Gallagher and Tumbeta and Vuyatela. Yeah, maybe that's the reason why. Because it doesn't make sense to me. That Buffelshoek Dam is beautiful. It's got 3 drainage lines actually. That's 2 that run in and 1 away. So you would expect that they would be really good for leopard 1 and 2 for elephant. Elephant like to get into the drainage lines to feed, especially in the hot parts of the day. So I would expect them to be there, but for some random reason they don't enjoy it nearly as much as the other 3 water holes on Djuma. So yeah. Anyway, we're just driving slowly along, not really in a rush to go anywhere today. I'm just checking carefully for anything really. Tlalamba would also be nice. Still no tracks have been reported of her since the rains. The last tracks we had was the day of the rains in the morning, and then it rained. Well, actually, sorry, in the afternoon, and then it rained that night. So that was the last ones we had, the day of the rain. But she's probably sitting on some big kill somewhere, knowing her, and will eventually pop out for us. I'm hoping, at least. The area that we're in now, there's always been a good area for her and Thandi. They kind of overlap in this section. Remember so clearly this tree up ahead on the left, we had a crazy sighting of a lion climbing it to steal her kills. Anyway, onwards we go. We'll see what else is down the road and what we can find.
We've repositioned just a little bit to get a better look at the marula and also, of course, the hyenas. God, you look like a seal. Should be on the Cape Town feet. It's so lovely to see him. And sadly, his brother Shimbulu didn't make it. We know that. And that was difficult. I went to see his body, and well, it was hard for me. It's hard for anyone when you see a cub that you've watched grow up, but it also highlights that all the predators will kill each other. All the predators, constant competition. They'll steal from each other. In my time here, 3 years, I have literally witnessed hyenas steal naturally from both leopards and lions. But I've also watched leopards steal from hyenas, watched lions steal from hyenas, dark-maned corky. I mean, that was in the crux of a very, very dry winter. And dark-maned, for those of you who are not sure, stocked up on corky at the hyena den, Philemon's Dip Den 1, and attacked her and stole the food that she was eating. So I've seen lions, females and males, steal from them. So it's just a constant push and pull of the predators out here. Naturally, leopards don't tend to risk it. They don't tend to walk up to lions and steal their food. But my point being, it's not just hyenas that do this. It's not just hyenas that act like this or scavenge or kleptoparasitize. It's a big word. WildEarth lover. You love WildEarth. Sadly not. Striped hyenas, they're the rarest out of them all, out of all the Hyenidae family, which is the spotted, the striped, the brown, and the aardwolf. And if you've never seen or heard of a striped hyena, I absolutely recommend you Google it. They're adorable. They look quite similar to the aardwolf, and their distribution is more Eastern Africa. So they're found a lot in Kenya, Tanzania. They're quite rarer, or they are rare, a lot further down south. I've never heard of a striped hyena sighting here. You can see them in Botswana, but I'd love to see them. I want to see all the hyenas, all 4 of them. The brown hyena has become my nemesis animal, shall we say. I have tried many times to see it, and it's just not going my way. One day it'll happen. I sat at a brown hyena den for a while, but I've just not actually seen an adult brown hyena. But that's okay. I get my fix with the spotties. And I've been really lucky with the Djuma clan, just in the time that I've spent with them. Every single cub. There has been loss, but on the whole, been a lot of success. I've watched a ribbon rise through the ranks. I've watched a matriarchal takeover. I've seen some pass away. The Djuma clan has given me a lot of insight. It's been a wonderful experience. And of course, sharing it with you guys. I've actually witnessed two sort of matriarchal takeovers in two very different ways. So we had the ribbon example, which really was an unrelated low ranker deciding she's had enough, saw an opportunity in the matriarch getting weak and injured and just went for it. I think she had a boy gang rather than a girl gang. The scientific paper says if they have a girl gang, it can, lead to success, especially matriarchal takeovers. But I think Ribbon had a boy gang, which is quite bizarre. But anyway, she gathered her allies and she just took over the clan and transformed it. And also in the Mara, we witnessed Waffles, such a great name for a hyena, almost hand over the matriarchy to her granddaughter, not her daughter, her granddaughter's Soup. It was almost a case of, there was a little bit of aggression, but very little. It was almost a case of Waffles saying, okay, I'm a granny now. I'm old, I'm tired, I just want to chill. And she just let Soup, who probably initiated that decision on some level, and she just let it happen. And of course, at a biological, genetic level, it's still her bloodline. It's still her lineage. Yes, it's not her that's the matriarch, but Waffles is old. Or was old, I'm not sure. And at least if someone's going to become the matriarch, it's better being a member of your family, your own blood, than a stranger. So I've watched those two scenarios play out in my career at WildEarth, and it's been really fascinating. Waffles. She was a large beast, let me tell you. I've never seen a hyena quite balloon herself like Waffles could. My goodness. I mean, June does a pretty good job as well. It's just interesting when you meet people that have all these misconceptions about animals. Oh, hyenas are bad. Yes, Michael Fleetwood, you're saying it's so nice to see Ngwazi losing his cub fluff. It's still there a little bit, but you're right, he's looking more and more like an adult. His ears still look a little bit out of proportion. He's got a little bit of growth to go, but you're right. From a distance, you would be pushed to say that this was a cub, really, or a sub-adult. But he is losing it, you're right, Michael, and it's so nice to just spend time with them. The leopard's not here, sadly, but I don't get to spend time with these guys anymore. I was saying misconceptions, people think hyenas are bad, evil, scavengers, they steal. And it's so nice to sometimes just be able to sit with that animal and see what they really are and who they really are and how they survive and what their phenomena is, what senses do they use to navigate their world, what's their superpower, what's their weakness. Every animal has a superpower. And of course, naturally, just the same as humans, we all have our weaknesses. Even sharks, the same when I was working on the shark project. The misconceptions about shark, people think if you go in the water, oh my goodness, you're going to get eaten by a shark. No, that is not going to happen. More people are killed each year by cows and falling coconuts than they are by sharks. A a coconut falling on your head kills more people than sharks do. But yet this fear, this unknown, and I think it's really nice to just spend time with an animal and get rid of that. Yes, hyenas do steal, but so does everybody else out here, especially during winter. And I think what is incredible about the dam cam, I know I moan about sitting on it because I'd rather be out here, but it's an incredible tool because what it's allowed us to do is see these animals at night time. And the amount of sightings recently of the Djuma clan members hunting on the dam cam is just mind-blowing. And I think they've just knocked it out the park. They've just shown everyone, hey guys, we also hunt, come on now. And the fact that they've just done it in front of the dam cam is just great. It's amazing. And that's why we don't see it. They hunt late at night when it's dark and nocturnal. They also hunt by coursing, so they run fast. They eat fast, so it's over quickly. But the dam cam has done wonders for the Djuma clan and their reputation. And all the guys here call me the Meesy lady. I'll always ask on the radio, has anybody seen any Meesy? Meesy? And they just laugh. Sometimes I'll call on the radio, Lauren, there's a Meesy here for you. Yes, Meesy. Oh, he's so gorgeous. It's got his mother, I see ribbon. I don't know if anyone will agree with me or think I am the crazy Meesy lady. He's got a very young male look about him, but I see ribbon. I see your mama in you, boy. And I know some people may disagree, but to this day, I firmly believe that Darby and I got extremely lucky and got those cubs, Ngwazi and Shimbulu, at just a day old. I really do. Thinking back, watching that sighting over and over again, piecing together the timeline, looking at how they could barely open their eyes. They were covered in what looked like birthing fluid, ribbons exhaustion. I'm still convinced to this day we found those cubs very, very recent after birth. Look at that other one, Impo, lying like a dog. I don't know who it is yet. Living the chill life. Living its best life. Hello, who are you? George, you're asking about taming hyenas, and that's quite interesting. So, I know that Kay Holcamp herself rescued some cubs, and she kept them in her house, and tried to rear them. And they were remarkably tame. They caused absolutely no injury or any harm to her, but they did chew through her whole household. She lost a lot of money on furniture, wires, cabling, walls, doors, shoes. So in that regard, it's not really possible to domesticate them, but tame, I would say it is possible. Especially when they are really habituated. I would say the hyenas in the Sabi sands where we are right now, at least in the northern sector, are pretty habituated to humans on foot and on vehicle. But if you think about it, in Ethiopia, there's a little Muslim town called Harar. And it's got such an interesting story. If you're interested, you should Google it. And one man, many years ago, decided he wanted to transform the village, the community's opinion of hyenas. And they were raiding the bins, they were causing a bit of trouble. They weren't harming the people, but they were raiding the bins. So he thought, okay, I'm going to feed them. And I remember, this is centuries ago, maybe not centuries, a very long time ago. And he used to feed them, so every night the hyenas would come and he started feeding them. Then he started feeding them by hand. Then he moved on to feeding them by mouth. And they gently take it out his mouth, which is what I used to do with my dog. And over time, I think it got passed down to his son, then his son, then his son, and they're still doing it in Harar. And you can actually go and you can pay for that experience. And I'm not advocating feeding wild animals right now, but sometimes you've got to understand these poorer communities have managed to coexist with these predators and come up with a solution to protect the predator, protect the community, raise awareness, and generate money into the economy. And that's what this incredible man did long ago. And it's H-A-R-A-R, Harar. And it's such a wonderful story. It's on my bucket list to just go and see how it's all set up. And Davi and I were in Maldives again with local people, local Maldivians who have built a relationship over time with tiger sharks. They were scared of them. The tiger sharks kept eating their tuna. Maldivian people need tuna to survive. It's the largest contributor after tourism to their GDP. Every tuna they pulled up, half his body was missing because the tiger sharks got to it first. The community started hating the tiger sharks. They were scared. What are these animals? So there was a group of people that decided, let's feed them. And let's try and understand them and change everyone's perception. And they've done the most incredible job. Friends of mine, and they do feed the sharks. And again, I'm not advocating for that. But now everybody loves the shark and the island is transformed. They are now estimating that per year, one single shark brings in about $70,000 to the economy, to that one single island. Now, that's a lot of money for a community like that. And if you think they've got about 101 sharks on the database, that's a lot of money, and they've done really well. And now everybody loves the sharks. So sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture. But anyway, I'm going to sit here a little bit longer with two of my favorite animals.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Ngwazi has sadly gone flat. The view has changed a little bit. Instead of flat cats, we have flat hyenas. Flatinas. I'm just in my element talking about them again. And just to touch on what I was saying earlier, coexisting with animals, especially in developing countries, is really important. And if the community finds a way to do that, I think it's very important that that is appreciated and recognized, whether it is feeding sharks. I mean, what they do is they take tuna heads and they just shove them under rocks in a specific place, in a specific point, and the sharks immediately come and they go and find their own tuna heads. And it's fascinating to watch, and these sharks are so habituated. They look at you, they've got the most gorgeous eyes, and they just swim around you and look for their tuna. They are not interested in humans whatsoever. And every single Maldivian, every single local that you speak to just beams about these sharks. They grin from ear to ear, like they just love these animals so deeply. And it's beautiful to see. And we spoke to one Maldivian girl who said that sharks changed her life. They have transformed her life. And animals can do that for you. So sometimes when you learn about these stories of coexistence, it's really interesting once you dig a little bit deeper and find out the actual story. So we may bumble on now that we've got some flatinas, but for now, over to Tristan.
Well, while Lauren has been with flat hyenas, we've managed to find ourselves an elephant herd, which is always nice. They just came out of Chitwa and are feeding on the fire break, kind of eastwards at the moment. And it's always a good place to check in this area for Tanya and Marips, especially if you have an elephant herd. We know how he can't help himself with following elephants around. And there's a few guinea fowl that are making a bit of noise around here, so I don't know. Maybe he's lurking and he's disturbed them at some point, or if they're just breeding. I saw two guineas chasing one another, which is par for the course at this time of the year. The guinea fowl will start to try and mate, and their mating call is very similar to their alarm call when they see a leopard. So if you see them kind of calling and they on the ground, then generally you're okay. You know that that's more mating behavior. But if you see them going up into a tree, then you know, go and check that area. It's very possible that there's a predator, and it doesn't always have to be a leopard. I mean, it can be something like a caracal or a serval or a genet or a civet. They'll also disturb guinea fowl too. So it's not always leopard, but the likelihood in the Sabi Sands is most likely leopard. I mean, that's really what we will kind of hedge our bets on. So maybe he's around. We'll check and carefully. No one's found him. They checked where that drag mark was. No sign of them there. So, you know, we'll have a little scratch and see what comes our way. But nice to see guineas as well. You know, it's crazy to me that little bird, who I suppose is not so little in the grand scheme of things. We have much smaller birds out here. But that little bird is able to travel 12 kilometers a day just walking. That fascinates me. You know, for a human to walk for 12 kilometers it's not crazy and it's not far, but it is still a fair distance. You know, 12 k's is still 12 kilometers. It's not a short distance. But these little guys on average will cover that just with those little legs, running around, feeding and doing their just guinea fowl things, which is interesting. Not that there's any to be seen right now. I could hear one calling down at the bottom there, but it's since kind of moved off. Nice herd, this. Lots of little babies. It seem like they've been swimming as well. Some of the young males. It's weird because some came out of Chitwa onto this fire break, and now it seems like a whole bunch of others are coming out of this area back onto the fire break. So I don't know if it's just they're utilizing this new green flush that's coming out. Most of the trees and even the grass here is starting to come through and flush with green. So really nice, tasty food items in comparison to what's in the dry bush, kind of up the slope. If you look behind these elephants up the slope in the back, there's very, very brown still. So make use of these nice areas while they can. It could also be two different herds that have come together. So these two herds merge and feed a little bit and then separate out. We know that does happen from time to time as well. It's been nice. This stint, I must say, I've enjoyed having the multitude of elephant that we've had. It's been very pleasant seeing so many ellies. They're always such an incredible animal to spend time around, and obviously we're lucky here in the Sabi Sands because of the wide-ranging sort of movements of elephants. They do go into all kinds of places, but a lot of them spend a fair amount of time in the private game reserve. So they'll move from kind of Baluli, Pridelands, Timbavati, Ngala, Manileti, Sabi Sands. And so because of that, a lot of the elephants that come into here have had decent exposure to mostly ethical people. I mean, every now and then there's some that aren't, but it's mostly guides, and because of that, a lot of the elephants are incredibly relaxed in comparison to other areas. So we're very fortunate in that we get these crazy early sightings here, where multitude of animals come past, and they typically are very relaxed around the vehicles and don't really care too much for our presence. I enjoy the fact that we can have that kind of those kind of moments with Ellies. I'm just sitting also and listening to them kind of bumbling along. It's actually a beautiful time of the day now. We've had some interesting weather of late. It's been so weird I'd say probably the last 2 months, we've had pretty crazy weather where it's gone hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and then we've had this extended period of cold now with a bit of rainfall that's taken place. So it's nice to have a nice evening where it's not cold, there's a bit of diffused light coming through, a few eddies around, and no wind, more importantly. The wind has just been incessant over the last 2 months, so it's been very pleasant of late to not have to deal with the wind in the same way and to allow us to actually enjoy the bush without being blown away. Alrighty, now I'll probably sit with these elephants a little bit longer. I just want to hear if these guinea fowls start again, or if there's maybe any sign of Marips or Tandi in this area. Like I say, they often follow these Ellies around, particularly Marips. So we'll give that a chance. In the meantime, off to Lauren with her hyenas.
Tristan actually blames me for the crazy weather. He said it only got crazy once I came back. And it's my fault. But I'm not a lover of being out in the rain, so I object that. But I do hope he finds Tandi and Marips, really. Now, 2 other vehicles just pulled up. They're speaking Zulu, and thank goodness people could translate for me. And what they're saying is, it's a very odd situation here, because this is the tree, the marula, that we're underneath, and there is no kill. It's gone. We've pulled up right beside the tree and looked on every single branch, and it's gone. So normally when the kill is dropped or is gone, the hyenas move. They don't stay in an area where there's no food. Just very interesting that the hyenas are still here. Anyway, as I try and figure it out, over to JP.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're just sitting flat on our backsides to make ourselves look as small as possible so that we don't appear intimidating, neither that we create the silhouette of a human being. Because on the end of the day, that's what animals quite often fear, is humans. They've got a very long history with us, stretching over several thousands of years. So what we're doing is just sitting quietly and watching what they get up to. These guys had a quick drink. Quite often I also find them at the specific waterhole where they will come and bathe to cool themselves down. So I was listening to Lauren's conversation earlier on about what hyenas eat. And they'll virtually eat anything from the skins and hooves as well as bones and the remains of animals, sometimes several weeks old. I've even watched them eating carcasses which were probably 3 or 4 weeks old already, which was merely just rotten soup and skin that was remaining over there. We also often see them picking up bones and carrying that with them for several kilometers. Some of the other strange things I've seen them over the years taking is shoes of colleagues. There's one specific girl that we used to work with. She didn't have the best pair of feet, but anyway, the hyena still took her shoes. And we also have seen that they've taken tow bar caps off on vehicles. And then anything from cameras, binoculars, backpacks, anything goes for a hyena. For some reason, they love chewing on stuff, and especially on rubber and plastic. Quite often in Kruger National Park, if you do drive and you do stop at a hyena den, they'll very quickly start chewing onto your bumper. So one of my colleagues at that stage was doing research on hyenas, and she actually had to learn to make a paste from chili powder and then paint that onto a bumper of a vehicle to prevent the hyenas from feeding or biting onto a hyena on the bumpers while she was busy studying them. Their stomachs are also incredibly strong, so in terms of their digestive juices, they can even break down enamel. That's how strong those stomachs are. There's a specific one that likes to hang around one of the eco-training camps here. It's nicknamed Scully. I don't personally like naming animals, but it's been named by a number of students. And Scully has a reputation of specifically going for backpacks as well as binoculars. If students aren't looking after what their belongings is, that often gets carried away by Scully. And sometimes it ends up for us with a tracking section, them down and finding their binoculars several kilometers away from where they have dropped it in the veld. Recently, I've picked up a pair of very large binoculars, which I was actually quite surprised. I've had some hyena bite marks in it, and it was approximately 5-6 kilometers away from where the camp is. Well, let's go and see what Lauren's hyenas are up to. We're going to hang around this area a little bit longer and see if we can find anything interesting to look at, and then hopefully come back to the dam for a sunset segment.
Having a little bit of a issue with my game drive radio. The volume buttons are not working, so please bear with me if it does go off. Now, we may leave shortly, but it's just been so wonderful to see these guys again and talk about them. I miss talking about hyenas. If you have any questions about them before I leave, you're welcome to ask. We'll come back, though. I just want to pop in and see the wigs before it gets a little bit too dark. And then we can come back. It's a really easy location to visit. Jane, not at all. Not even in the slightest. Wild dogs are canids, so they're related, they're in the Canidae family, and hyenas are completely different. They're in their own little family called Hyenidae. Hyenidaes. And hyenas, believe it or not, if you were to sort of make a comparison between dogs and cats, as in the felids and the canids, they are actually marginally closer related to the felids than they are the canids, but still they're far from the cats, if that makes sense. But if they are closer to one, it's more the cats, and they're really closely related to mongoose. I know, it sounds really bizarre, but they are not related to wild dogs at all. But what is interesting is that the original sort of name, obviously, every species has a Latin name. It has a, not just a common name, hyena, they also have a Latin name. And spotted hyenas is Crocuta crocuta. But back in the day, it was thought that hyenas were related to wild dogs, and they were originally called Hyena picta, after the pictus, after wild dogs. And then, of course, it was realized that, oh, actually, they're really not related at all. And then the name was changed. But it's not a ridiculous question, because it was once thought to be that way back in the day. And I'm talking about dogs. Dogs were thought to be hyenas. Sorry, I got confused there. Dogs are thought to be hyenas, and therefore they were called Hyena picta. The wild dogs were thought to be as part of the hyena family, and they're not at all. They're a canid. Sorry, I'm talking rubbish. I'm going to work on my game drive video, I promise. But it was in 1827 that they were reclassified. So this is a very long time ago that wild dogs were thought to be hyenas. But they're not related in any way, shape or form. I was really hoping to get a glimpse of Subuyi, but I don't think she's coming back here anytime soon. And although it's very kind that we've been let into Little Gallery, we can't exactly go tracking through there. I also don't know this property. I only know little bits of it. White mane, interesting question, and I don't know. Really, it's a bit of a 2-year cycle because of the protracted lactation period. But again, as I touched on earlier, it's very little I personally feel is actually known about the low-felt hyenas. A lot of studies and papers, scientific literature that you can read about these animals, it mainly comes from areas like the Masai Mara or the Serengeti. And I really do think that the low-felt hyenas are slightly different. Of course, there will be differences. They're the same species, but naturally there will be differences. And maybe a female could get pregnant earlier. I mean, especially Ribbon. She's the matriarch. She's in a really, really good position. Her offspring, well, Ngwazi is in a good position. And normally, across the board, there's a sort of peak in hyena births. And it normally is when the bovids and the zebra have their young. So it's not timed exactly, but that's when the sort of hyena births peak. But I mean, the young are born throughout the year, really. But if you look at the averages, it's when the bovids and the zebra give birth. So I think next year, early next year, I think we'll see change in the Djuma clan. But I am just guessing white mane, and it's nice to hear your name again. Ribbon naturally was the first to give birth this time round in 2020, and the matriarch is in a better position for so many reasons. So I think if anyone, it could be Ribbon again, but I think it's normally a 2-year period. But Comet has been very attentive to Ribbon lately. I'm a little bit suspicious. Michael and I were talking about this the other day. He's very attentive. I haven't had any sightings of Ribbon. But anytime we see Ribbon, Comet is not too far away. One of the best sightings ever was at a Tingana kill, just off in Yala Road South Central. And he was up, I want to say a Tamboiti tree, but my memory's not that great. And lots of members of the clan were underneath. And this was when Saka, one of my favourite males, was trying to impress Ribbon. And he was trying very hard. He kept bowing. Only what could be described as bowing down to Ribbon, getting down on his front legs with the bum sticking up and bowing down to her. It was an incredible sighting. Okay, I think we are going to bumble on shortly, pop into the wigs, and then we shall be back.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. One of the insects that I was really hoping for to see within the next few days, as it just started raining, was dung beetles. And we've just found these beautiful iridescent coloured dung beetles, which is actually feeding on the dung of the African civet. So they don't only just use the dung of herbivores as what we normally think. Some species will also even lay their eggs inside millipedes, which I find particularly interesting. When it comes to these dung beetles, there's a number of different behaviors. Some species will just lay their eggs directly into the pad of dung, while others will actually lay their eggs directly underneath that pad of dung. And then for me, the favorite ones of all is these species that actually rolls the dung away, because they utilize a number of different methods to orientate and navigate. It might include the sun, the moon, as well as the Milky Way and stars. And some of them will actually have to push that ball for several hundred meters towards the area where they want to bury it. Some of the brood balls are actually given to females these dung balls are given to females as little gifts. If a female is impressed, she will be happy and she will accept. We also find that the male and female will mate, and the female will lay her eggs directly inside that dung ball. These little dung balls are often dug up by honey badgers, which will eat that protein-rich grub that's on the inside of that dung ball. There's also a fourth group of dung beetles which actually specialize in stealing dung balls from others, as they're too lazy to make their own little dung ball and then simply use it for the same purpose as providing it to a gift for another female, as well as then using it for reproductive purposes.
Right, so we are, well, not we didn't find anything. Somebody else found Subuyi right near where, well, not near, but close enough to where the elephants were. She's moved all the way from Little Gowrie for some odd reason, so I don't know why she would have come all the way to Chitwa Dam, but this is where she's decided she wants to spend some time. There's water, multiple points of water close to where she was with that kill, so why she's moved here, it makes no sense unless Mulawati arrived there and stole the kill and pushed her off. That's possible, but yeah, she's behind Chitwa Dam wall now, so she's decided that this is the spot that she's going to be spending the afternoon. What we might do is we might reposition now the people were very kind and let us know about her, and we were able to come in. Like I say, I'd love to claim credit for this, but there is zero credit. I think we would have found her otherwise. We were coming here just now, and we were just waiting for a few things to happen, because our country still is at the point where it goes through something called load shedding, and so when we have load shedding, it plays a little bit of an issue with signal and masts and all those kind of things, so we're just waiting for all the generators to kick in. Okay, so I think let's just quickly reposition, because now that that other car is gone, I don't have to worry about them in the background, so we're just going to quickly go down and try and get in front of her a little bit. Not in front of her, but below her. So we'll just go nice and slow. You're lying in the nice cool mud, girl. She's such a pretty cat, this. I really do enjoy her. Alrighty. Let's just go around like this. Is that alright there, Khat? Yeah. Perfect. Alright, so there we go. She's just sitting ever so nicely for us, taking it super easy at the moment. I'm not surprised, given that she's so full. She ate this morning, but there was still quite a fair amount of meat on there. I didn't think she would have left that. Maybe, like I say, maybe she dropped it. That's also possible. But from there, I would have expected her to go to Treehouse Dam. That's the closest point, not on Djuma Treehouse, but the one on Little Gowrie. Or in fact, actually, Twin Dams is the closest. point to where that kill was, but maybe something disturbed her and she just wanted to get out of there and come down here. She's second time we've seen her at Chitwa Dam, so maybe she's going to now claim this as hers, but her and Thandi are going to run into each other at some point. The two of them are spending way too much time together, or in the same areas, overlapping now, so I'm sure there's going to be a box here between them. Maybe that's what's happened, because if you see her, if she turns at some point and she gets up, we'll see on her right hand side she's got a few injuries on her right hand side there, nice little gashes behind her right leg. So I don't know if that was in the cause of trying to protect a cub or something like that. I don't know, but let's see what happens and what she does this afternoon. Will be a good indicator of whether or not that cub still is alive. I have my suspicions that it's not alive anymore, but let's give it a chance and see and figure out whether or not she still has them. Because where we are now is actually not the worst place for cubs. This is an area where leopard can hide cubs super well. The two drainages that come off the back of this dam wall meet, and it's undulating and difficult, and you won't get a car in there. So for a leopard, it's not the worst place. Maybe that's why she's walked so far and the cub is still alive. I don't know. We're all just surmising at this stage. So we'll see how it goes. I would have expected, though, if she did have the cub, she would have gone back to it after this kill, if it wasn't at the carcass, to go and spend some time with it. Pretty cat, though. So distinctive with her little pink nose and her small rosettes. Nice that we can actually get her beautifully this afternoon rather than, long distance like we had her this morning. Unfortunately, this morning we had no signal right up near the tree, so we had to go further afield. So it's nice that we can actually be up close and personal with her this afternoon. It's so weird because the last time I was at Chitwa Dam, I was saying it's strange how we haven't been seeing any leopards behind the dam wall. This is normally a place where we see them a lot, whether it be Kuchawa, Subuyi, Thandi, or any of the boys. And then randomly managed to get her this afternoon. It also looks like a bit of sunshine that's going to come through. I think we're going to have a beautiful evening today. I hope she comes and sits on this bank here, Kat, with that sun. It would be quite nice. Let's see if she does. She doesn't look as though she's that sleepy, she's kind of got head up and awake. Also a frog that's making a bit of noise here, too. I would love to know from you guys what you guys think with regards to Chitwa Dam, who's going to end up being the dominant leopardess around this dam. I know we're going to go into summer now, so it's not going to be as much of a thing as we go into summer, but it's going to be, I'm keen to hear what you guys think is going to be the queen of this area, because theoretically Kuchawa, Subuyi and Thandi are all fringing on this dam. We see all of them pretty close to the dam, or around it. It's going to be interesting to see which one of the three will start to settle here a little bit more, if all of them are going to maintain this as a fringe territory. Pity she's just lying in that long grass. It would be nice if she just came out a little bit. I'd imagine, though, that the ground there is, because it's damp, is a little bit more wet and cool, and so that's why she's using that. It's also a little bit of cover for her to be able to rest and take it nice and easy. It's a pity also because that bank of grass is growing right in front of her teats, so we can't see if she's got suckle marks still. Somebody was asking this morning if we had suckle marks. Sorry, I can't remember what the name was this morning. But yeah, I can't see anything with this angle and that grass the way it is. Definitely she's hot though. I was saying earlier today when we started this drive that it was warm this afternoon. And it had a kind of humid feeling to it. And I think she's kind of showing exactly that, the way that she's panting. She is also full, so when they've eaten, they do pant like this. There's a excess amount of food in their stomach. It pushes up on their lungs. It, it creates a bit more shortness of breath, and the metabolic rate increases the temperature within the animal. So there's a process of kind of digesting that causes a heat increase, and panting then helps that. But it also is actually quite sticky this afternoon. It feels sort of summery in a way, like there's a humidity buildup that we're getting, and soon we're going to see a bit of rain come through. So I'd imagine that's why we're kind of seeing a slow pant. It's not a heavy one, because it's not crazy. But yeah, and let's see what she gets up to. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Lauren with her eagle owl.
Oh, I have, Tristan. I told Tristan, don't you dare go to the Wick's house. I'm going. Well, that's where Subuyi is, so she's definitely left that area. I don't see signs of a kill anywhere. And obviously, Ngwazi and Gingarika, that was the other one, are clearly hoping that something may magically appear in front of them. Maybe the smell's still in the area, and they're also still both so young. Gingarika is Hart's daughter, and maybe they just haven't fully realized that they're not going to get any food. It's long gone. But it was so good to see them both. And it's good to see you too, Mrs. Wick. She is just adorable. And you'd have to be driving very slowly and really looking to see her. I mean, we just got lucky that time we found Sebwig as a chick, because his down is so grey that he really stands out, whereas she doesn't. She's very, very camouflage. She looks like she's in a very, very deep sleep. I'm sorry, Ronald. I don't know how to adjust this volume on the radio. Maybe I can try turning it off for now. Many of you are wondering if we've seen Papa. I did, I think, 3 days ago, or maybe 4 days ago now, but the past 2 days I haven't. But he's normally here. I know his spots, I know where he hangs out, and because the vegetation is so thin, he's actually quite easy to find. We can't move much, that's the problem. We're in a tricky signal spot, so we can't do much. But I'm going to keep looking around for you all. Papa Wig. He's not habitually that old. Anytime the vehicle comes, he just flies off. Whereas Mrs. Wig really is very relaxed with us. I really can't wait. I really, really can't wait. I hope it's when I'm here that we get to see some signs of a chick. Or a chick. Or two chicks. I really hope. Tristan was telling me about the other spotted eagle owl's nest. Just sort of near Firebreak, Galago shortcut area. But he said when the car got closer, they did fly away, and we can definitely go check that nest out. But this nest, even though it's in a tricky signal spot, is very special. It has a lot of history. This particular female, we know her. It's in a very deep sleep. Normally you see her sort of opening an eye or having a little bit of a look. adorable. I'm going to sit here just a little bit longer with Missy's wig.
Sea Forest is a brand new experience on the WildEarth channel. Freedivers will explore the great African sea forest in Cape Town, while naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
Here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Are now doing the Hades hop, where they have to run back and forth to a target, turn, take aim, and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
The bushwalk feed allows the camera person some creative license. This is my favorite style of shooting. You have to be mentally and physically prepared. You're shooting handheld in some very strange and contorted positions, always with a straight back, often in the squat position, low to the ground. The creativity comes down to the relationship and sync you have with your presenter. The more you understand each other, the more you'll be able to tell the story seamlessly.
Subuyi seems very unsettled. She's up, down, up, down, up, down. I don't know if there's insects that are bothering her, that are causing her to move so much. But she kind of gets up and then she lies down. And then she walks 2 meters, gets and lies down. Kind of just as it's like a pattern that's developed. From here, you can't see nicely that gash. Just at one point, she was lying quite nicely. You could see it pretty clearly. It's basically just behind her right shoulder is where the gashes are. I think it's 2 that are there. I saw one, and one is very clear and very deep and very big, and then there seems to be another one just below it that also doesn't look great. But they all heal up. I mean, they pretty much just flesh wounds. I've seen far worse on lion and leopard, and they've come right from it. So it's not anything to worry about. And she's keeping it nice and clean, which is the important part. But she definitely has had a scuffle with somebody over the past little bit. I wonder who it would have been. Maybe Tlalamba. That's very possible. Or in defense of the cubs. You know, they can tangle with all kinds of things when they try to defend cubs, but particularly hyenas, if the hyenas are there. Although I must be honest, the times that I've seen hyenas and male leopards kill leopard cubs, the mother's always just sat and watched. She's tried to play interference up into a point, but once they actually grab those cubs, then they just, you know, kind of fall back a little bit, and it's almost like they resign themselves to the fact that the cub is gone and that there's nothing they can really do to bring it back. So yeah, it's really kind of dependent on the individual and how they do it. Whitemane has Subuyi usually have long whisker? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, does she have unusually long whiskers is probably what is needed to be said there. No, she doesn't seem to have unusually long whiskers. She has whiskers that are pretty normal for most leopards. They have long whiskers, do leopards, all of them really, except if you Nzilo down, well, she's no longer with us, but there was a leopard called Nzilo down in Kirkman's Lion Sands area, and she, when she was a cub, was too curious of fire and burnt all her whiskers off. She was absolutely fine, so don't stress that anything happened to her, but she looked so funny. If you've ever seen a leopard without whiskers, it's ridiculous. They look so weird when they don't have them. So she didn't have any, and that's why she was actually called Fire. It was because of that incident. But luckily nothing happened to kind of hurt her. But no, her Subuyi's whiskers are pretty stock standard. I've never really noticed them to be crazy long. They seem like they are legitimately the normal kind of whisker. Hafsa, average lifespan of a leopard. So, I mean, this is always a tough question because it can be quite variable depending on areas, densities, other predators, those kinds of things. But what we normally kind of look at is in a female leopard like Subuyi, you're going to have probably an average lifespan of between sort of 14 and 16 years. But they can go older than that. The oldest leopard I've personally seen was 19 and a half in the Sabi sands. There was another leopard that made it a little bit past that, it's got to 20. So that's very, very old for leopards in the wild. Most leopards in captivity will struggle to make it to 21, so that gives you an idea of how rare that is. But males much younger, so males' average lifespan is between sort of 10, 14, actually I would say probably 12 and 14 is a bit better. They tend to live a slightly shorter life because of the nature of their dominance displays. They've got to fight a little bit to be able to become dominant, and so they can't afford to have the same sort of gentle life that female leopards have in many ways. So their lifespan is slightly shorter. We find that they end up kind of distributing out, becoming nomadic, and then losing condition and go pretty quickly from there. So yeah, that's normally sort of lifespans. And Jason, you were wondering about leopard spots, and if I had to guess how many would leopard have. So we've had this question a few times. Most leopards have anywhere between 900 and 1,200 spots on them, or rosettes. So yeah, that was done by some poor soul that had to count them. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was an AI thing that they just ran a whole bunch of photographs of leopard through a system and then had that counted. But maybe there was some poor guy that had to end up, or lady that had to end up counting the spots on a leopard's coat for a whole multitude of leopards, and that's the figure that they came up with. So it's quite a lot of spots when you think about it. Imagine, like I say, having to count all of that, especially in a cat like Subuyi with these tight little rosettes that she's got. She must have more spots than most. It would actually be very interesting to know whether she does have an increased spot pattern, comparatively speaking, to a lot of the other cats that we have out here. Certainly she must have more than Tavangumi. I mean, Tavangumi's coat, he's got big, bold rosettes. Although he's got the little spots within the rosettes like a jaguar, so maybe that will help his chances of increasing his amount of spots. There we go, she's just lying down again. I think there's a lot of flies down here that are irritating her. That's why she's in a situation where she's getting up and moving all the time, biting flies on the ears and the nose and the eyes, especially around these muddy sections. You often find these flies congregating around mud, particularly this time of the year when there's still not a huge amount of water. They can sequester moisture from the mud itself, and so from there they then move and kind of land on a leopard. The other thing that's out in force at the moment is the Mopani bees, or stingless bees. They're also around, and they're also known as sweat bees, so they're attracted to any sort of moisture and glistening of eyes and noses and mouth. They will land there. So if you're in an area where there's sweat bees, if you're sweating, hence the name, they come in, they see the glistening of your sweat, or they come towards your eyes because they see the shine of your eye. It can be hugely irritating when you get big swarms of them. So here in this part of the world, we're lucky we don't get huge amounts of sweat bees or mapani bees. But if you go up into the Congo rainforest, you can't really see where you're going sometimes for the number of them in front of you. And you actually have to wear these kind of hats with these mosquito net type meshing that comes around. Otherwise, I promise you will not be able to walk there at all, particularly when you with the gorillas. Seem to be a lot there and you're stationary for a period of time and then they come in. Once you start to move, then they start to drop off. But when you're stationary, it can be ridiculous. And they go in your ears, up your nose, in your eyes, everywhere. All right, so we're going to stay with Subuyi. We're going to hopefully be able to keep up with her. She's going to go through some horrible places if she goes in the direction she's looking. But hopefully we'll manage and be able to spend most of the afternoon with her.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more. And remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Well, if you would like to make use of a promotion running for a discounting course, you can also join us on a sunset. As after a long day of two pickles as well as the fury session, we tend to always make a quick stop and enjoy that last little bit of sun before it hits the horizon, before we head back to the camp for our final part of the day. Let's sit back and just enjoy our sunset. While we enjoy the last little bit of our sunset, let's go and see what Lauren is up to.
Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce he with the darkest of manes, also known as Dark Mane. And ladies and gentlemen, he's still in the same position as he has been for the past few nights. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm telling a big fat lie. He's about 20 meters away from where he was the past few nights. The smell here is just... it's absolutely disgusting. And it's the smell of the carcass. So I would imagine now that he's not guarding it, I'm going to guess that he's finished with it. But look at that pot belly. I'm just going to quickly try and calm myself and everyone. My game drive radio is really not working, but it's a bit naughty to be here without seeing that. WildEarth on lock with Dark Mane, same position, junction, Mamba, Drakensberg. Space for 2 Mova. I don't know if anyone copied that, but You're all my witnesses if I get in trouble. I'm joking. Well, boys, good to see you. What have you been up to? There's your paw, Impo. He laughed, everybody. Impo laughed. That's the paw. And you just put an M in front of it and it's Impo. Yeah, we have to entertain ourselves out here sometimes. We think we're funny, but we're not actually that funny. I don't see any vultures. They've all disappeared. I don't see any hyenas, but there has to be something on the ground here with that smell. It's not coming from him. Or is it? Apparently the rest of the Talamati pride are up at Tamboiti Dam, which is actually in Buffelshoek, but it's right on the cut line. And therefore, we may go and try and visit them a little bit later. We're not traversing Buffelshoek or Tortured at the moment, but we may go and see the rest of your pride, Darkmane. Look at that mane. You know, there's a part of me that I guess it was relatively hard for Darkmane with regards to not seeing the others, Blondie and Mohawk, which is what we call them. I mean, I believe they're still one coalition. They're still working the same prides. They're still sort of patrolling separate areas. But it is believed he's not seen them in a really long time. You just chose with the girls, don't you? Although, to be honest, Tamboiti Dam's not terribly far. I'm actually going to show you on my map. Okay. So this is where we are right now, Drakensberg Mamba Junction. This is where they killed the zebra. And Tamboiti Dam is up here. So it is at a completely opposite part of the reserve, really, but it's not too far away. I mean, it's not here to the top of the Mangileti, really. It's just he's in the southeast corner of the reserve, and they are sort of north and central. It is actually in Buffelshoek, but it's very close to the cut line. So what I'm trying to say is, as soon as the sun sets and they start calling, they will be able to contact one another. And he'll hear them, and I imagine he'll start moving in that direction for the next zebra. I would say average. Yep, I've seen male lions smaller than him, and I've seen lions bigger than him. I would say he's perfectly average from my personal experience. Of course, you always get outliers. You always get these individuals that are just huge or tiny. But I would say he's pretty average. And from when I first met Darkmane way back in 2018, he's a different boy, I tell you. They just transformed. And you know, you don't realize it. It's like looking at your family or your loved one that you see every day, even your dog. You don't actually see them aging. Actually, even yourself. Sometimes you just look in the mirror and you think, what? Where did that wrinkle come from? But you don't see it because you're seeing that person or that animal or that reflection every single day. And it isn't until you look back on photos or images or some sort of memory that you realize, wow, that's what I looked like back then, or that's what they looked like. And that's what I did quite recently. I went back into my hard drive to late 2018, and all the photos I have of the orcas, the three of them, they used to always be together, a band of three, and they all look so young. They look like teenagers who haven't fully finished puberty yet. It's very sweet. I'll need to make sure I share those photos with you. And they just arrived by a matter of months by the time I got here. They were very new to the area, the northern orcas. Avocado. You're a big avocado, dark mane. But you're lucky, I love avocado.
For 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Our competitors are in the room behind me right now for the birding challenge, where they have to look at pictures and identify the birds and then separately listen to bird calls and identify them. But it's not easy. This is going to be the toughest one. Here we have the previous year's winners. You can see they're trying to see if they can remember all the answers, and look at them taking a sneak peek.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I love being a cam up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Well, we're a little bit further away from Subuyi. We've just been struggling with getting signal, so we've come up onto the bank a little bit. And we can at least see her nicely from up here, just a little bit further away. Seems like she's just lying in all the places that's difficult for us today, from this morning, and again this afternoon, kind of sniping her from a long way away is what we're doing. It's a weird camera term that cameraman uses to snipe. It's a very different thing in many ways. Anyway, she's just lying up at the moment, very much like she has been this afternoon. She gets up a little bit, goes, lies down, gets up a little bit, lies down. So she's unsettled, to say the least, and that's probably due to, like I say, insects more than anything else. If you watch her, she's constantly flicking her ears and her head, and it's particularly if she lies the opposite way around. So when her left flank is on the ground and her right flank is exposed, which is where the cuts are, then the flies are really bad because they come to that fresh wound and they're trying to sort of move around on that and irritate her. So when she lies on her right flank, she's a lot more comfortable, but as soon as she moves and exposes it, she seems to get irritated pretty quickly and then tries to sort of move on and go somewhere else. So yeah, it's interesting just to watch her and how she's kind of coping with having a little bit of an injury at the moment. So nice and peaceful and still though this evening. It's such a beautiful temperature today. MJB, no, I never saw she do or Kikalezi. That was Londolezi Mala Mala. So she once crossed onto Hoffman's, but by the time I got there, she turned back and went south into Mala Mala. So yeah, I never got a chance to actually see her. There was a lot of cats that I haven't seen. I mean, I've been fortunate and seen plenty in the Sabi Sands, but there's still a number of them that I haven't seen. But we'll get there. Like I said, I've been lucky this year. I actually would love to know how many leopards I've seen this year. I reckon it's close to 100 just in the Sabi Sands in this calendar year. Between, Singita and Londolozi, the western sector, the south, up here, a fair amount of leopards. I know in this area alone, the count is over 30 in this year. In fact, it's probably even more than that, probably like 35, somewhere there. So if we add the couple, or the cats that I've seen in the various other lodges, I reckon we could get close to 100, maybe just shy of, which is a pretty crazy amount of individual cats to see in a calendar year, just in one game reserve. It just goes to show how fortunate the Sabi Sands is in terms of its leopard viewing. It's in no way means that I have any skill in that. It's just got lucky and have been fortunate to have guided at a number of lodges this year, which has led to having the opportunity to see a number of different individuals. One of the nice things about this year is that I've been fortunate, besides quarantine, I have seen all of Karula's kind of lineage within the sands. So Hosana, Tandi, Kuchava, the cubs, obviously maybe not Kuchava's new cubs, so let's add that in there. But Tamba, so all of those individuals that were still seen in the Sabi Sands, I've been fortunate enough to see this year, which is really cool. It's nice when you get opportunities like that. Even old Kunuma, I've seen him this year, which is nice. So yeah, I've been fortunate, and I'm still quite sad because when I was much younger and kind of much greener, I used to keep a list of the number of leopards that I had seen, individuals in my time as a guide, in the Sabi Sands, and I stopped that list when I was at Chitwa, unfortunately. But already at that point, so Singita and Chitwa combined, there was already over 100 individual cats at that point. Now that was up until 2012, so that's a long time ago. And then I moved down to Lion Sands, Kirkman's area, so there's a lot of cats there. And then back up to Simbambili and then to WildEarth. So I reckon it would be interesting to know. Somebody asked me the other day, how many do you think you've seen in the Sabi Sands? And I honestly don't have an answer, but I would be, a conservative guess would be 200. A bigger guess would be probably 300 individual leopards, which is crazy when you think about it over a 10-year span. It's a stupid number of cats to be seeing in a reserve. It's why this reserve is so famous. It's why so many people want to come here. So many guides want to work here. It's because of the sheer number and density of these guys. It just makes for the most insane leopard viewing. We get cubs, we get mating, we get hunts, we get all kinds of things. And while it is tough terrain at times, we're lucky in that we also have a lot of water and things like that. So the cats spend a lot of time at these dams. And are habituated enough for us to view them, and that is because in large that we have very good trackers in this area with small blocks, in the Sabi Sands. So most of the Sabi Sands, quite small blocks, good trackers, proficient guides for the most part, and then very, very nice substrate in order to track on. Most of the Sabi Sands is quite a loose sandy soil. There's very few rocks out here. There are places with rocks, but it's not a huge amount. And that makes it much, 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 much easier to find leopards and find them at young ages, which causes us to have an habituation process. Also quite loose on this off-roading, so we're able to off-road quite extensively in this reserve, and that allows us to view these guys pretty well. So yeah, it's a perfect storm in many ways, a perfect recipe for good game viewing of leopard. Alrighty, well, I'll just continue to sit with her. Why not? She's just sitting and enjoying a nice rest. So, seems like a good time just to chill and take it easy with her. Well, as you can see, we haven't moved and we shall not be moving. So I think what we'll do is just sit and listen to the sounds of the bush. There's a saddle-billed stork coming in over the dam wall. That's quite nice. I wonder if it's going to stay above the dam wall long enough for Gert to get a good view, because it's probably going to go behind that tree there. And off it goes. Nice to see a saddle-billed stork. Quite a few of them around at the moment, hanging about the place. Maybe the same individuals. I don't know. But yeah, let's sit and just listen to the sounds of the bush while we watch her from a distance. A beautiful still evening. Sure, we'll see her eventually getting up and moving, so we'll just be patient and stay with her. Well, not much has changed. We're still sitting with Subuyi. She hasn't moved too much. So much so that another vehicle is actually even leaving the sighting due to her not doing a whole bunch. It's also that time of the day where a lot of people go for their drink stop. So they go and have their little sundowner, as it's called. So I would expect we'll be quite quiet here with us. We've been very fortunate of late. The last couple of drives, I mean, yesterday afternoon I had male leopard who was active the whole afternoon. I had a pride of lions who was also active, and not a single car joined us in the time that we were with them. For 4 hours we did not have a car with us at those sightings. The only time we had a car, it was when we lost Shasha. They didn't even see him. So, you know, and then this afternoon it's just been this vehicle and the one that told us about this leopard. So it's only been the 2 cars that have come through, which on Chitwa is not always the case. It can be quite busy here, but it's an indication that it's a Wednesday. At the moment in South Africa, a lot of the lodges are much fuller on the weekends than they are in the midweek. So you often find like a downturn in the midweek, not as many people, and then the weekend a massive spike as the South Africans make use of a lot of the lodges, while international tourism is still a little down from normal. So we end up with, you know, a situation where it's a little quieter in the midweek, which is nice. It's nice from a point of view for us to be able to spend time with animals without really having to worry too much about holding other people up. We can at least enjoy them. I suspect that this poses a problem for infrared, doesn't it, at this distance?
Yeah.
It's going to. All right, well, this is a shock and a turn up for the books, but let's send you across to Lauren Darkman, who's on the move.
Yes, Tristan, it's a shock. Darkmane is on the move. He got up, he gave us some glorious stretches. Now we do have another vehicle, so I'm just trying to allow space for everybody here. And he's on the move. He's moving west along Mamba Road with his full belly swaying from side to side. So he's heading more in towards Djuma, if that makes sense. He's heading towards the Mulwati, actually very close to where the Wicks house is. Don't worry, he's not going to do anything. I'm just giving you some context. No, don't cut over, boy. Wendy's in no condition to be off-roading. I'm intrigued to see what Rudy will take. I know where the Pride are, and I'm just intrigued to see which way he's going to walk through the reserve. My game drive radio is now completely not working, so that is not ideal. We probably just can't arrive at any sightings unannounced. Achilles, not terribly old. He was born sometime in 2013. So what that means is, I'm just going to catch up with him now and Paul, is that he's probably around 8. We guess he's 8 years old. So he's not a young lion, but he's definitely not an older lion. Tristan was talking earlier about the sort of average lifespan for a leopard between 12 and 14. It's kind of similar for a lion as well. The males don't live as long as the females, because they're always fighting and battling and doing silly things. Males have got a shorter lifespan. He's not old, he's not young, he's in the middle. And he has got an injury, he has got a limp, but he's had this limp for a really long time and it doesn't stop him. I think he broke the bone and it healed wrong, so he's not able to quite use it. But other than that, he's absolutely fine. Oh, Darkmane. What do you hear? What do you see? And you see how slow he's walking. He's really not going anywhere fast. I just wonder if he'll head up past Gowrie Dam and then straight to Tamboiti Dam. I'm just going to take him a while to get there at this pace. Okay, let's go. And I now call the avocas the avocados after that little kid called the talamatis and the avocas the tomatoes and the avocados. I can't now not think of that. But we do know they come from a place called Avoca, and we drive past Avoca when we go to our nearest town, which is Hoedspruit. Whenever we need to do a town trip to get some essentials, it's about an hour and a half away, we drive past Avoca, and that's where these boys come from. Well, I mean this boy, but I'm referring to his coalition, the Avocas. And there's the northern Avocas and the southern Avocas. He's so full, look at that dummy. Sway, 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 sway. And if you think of Scarface and the Masai Mara, who's sadly no longer with us, and you think of even Kapuli, all these epic lions up there, they also have been through a lot. Male lions generally look old once they reach a certain point because they're heavily scarred and got notches missing out of their ears and bits of their tail missing. Okay, he's taking a trajectory I did not predict. Just wanted to see if that other vehicle wanted past, but they don't. Okay, let's go ahead and find out where Mr. Darkmane is going. We're just following Darkmane here. It's very open, so I am going to follow for a little bit. There's a game path here. You can see that already. It's already tracks. But if it gets too thick, I'm not. The cars are in no state to be bunda bash, and we're also losing light. I don't want to bash on when it gets really dark, so I don't want to bash info either. He's taking an animal 2 track. It's incredible. He's taking a game path. I don't know if you can actually visually see it. Yes, here, this line. That's the game path, an animal path. It's not really designed or made by vehicles. It's an animal path, and he's taken it. Of course, the animals know the lay of the land out here so much better than we do. I think I know the roads, but not the way these animals know it. I've followed the Incohumans through this game path before with Blondie and Mohawk. This game path, I followed them one night. They were following buffalo. He's going to pop out on Mambaloo. So he's heading south. He's heading in the complete opposite direction from his pride. I love it when you try and predict which way an animal's going to go and you get it completely wrong. We should be hitting a road any minute now, so I'm going to do my very best to keep up with Mr. Darkmane.
Well, we're still with Subuyi. We've got a bit of a conundrum at the moment because our IR won't reach there when it does get eventually dark enough. At the moment it's okay because we've got a bit of light, and there's another car that's in the sighting, so they might put a bit of light on for us from this distance. But once it gets dark, the IR is not going to work enough for us to be able to well, it doesn't have long enough range to stay where we are here. Which poses a slight problem because I don't know where I'm going to get signal to be able to spend time with her. We might have to leave her, unfortunately, when it gets dark, which is not ideal. I would have liked to have spent a bit more time with her, but if that's what it is, that's what it is. There's not much I can do about it. Infrared only has a certain span that it can work. It obviously will get better as it gets darker and the distance will get better, but this is quite far for infrared. Spent a fair amount of time on the vehicles with infrared now, and this is definitely a long shot for us with these infrared lights. These infrared lights are more a flood than they are a spot, and so, you know, if it's distance like this, it's almost impossible for the light to pick up. And you can see now, even at this time of the day, this dingy light, how she's just disappearing in that long grass. Her spot pattern and the way that she is lying makes it quite difficult to discern that there's a leopard. Well, at least from my angle. I mean, you guys are seeing a much more condensed version of the sort of environment. She's a lot kind of zoomed in from where we are. It's very difficult to make out that there's a leopard there. I think if you drove here now, you'd never spotlight, you'd easily drive past that without noticing. You'd think it may be just a log in the grass. Still confused as to what's happened with her and why she left that kill. There's something that's kind of made her walk far. I don't know if she just feels like she wants to be back into an area where she feels more territorial, or if there's something about that area that she just didn't like. Maybe the hyenas were too much. for a couple cars to move. See which way they want to go before we figure out what our next move is going to be. Christine, yeah, I mean, it would be awesome if Thandi was the queen of this territory. You know, she's such a cool cat. You know, and the problem is that she is aging, so the likelihood of her really becoming the queen is probably quite low. You know, in comparison to cats like Subuyi and Kuchava, who are much younger individuals at 8 years old. You know, Thandi really doesn't have the size also over either of those cats to be able to compete. Those are both big cats in comparison to her. So, you know, at her age, the reality is that she's really not going to be a huge force or threat to Subuyi. And we know Subuyi's given her a bit of a hiding already. So it's not ideal, and I don't think that she'll end up being here. She's happy on Torchwood, and she's got no pressure really there. Tlalamba every now and then wanders kind of close to her, but other than that, there's very little pressure. She's got a bit from the eastern side of with Nkanyeni and Watika, but they're both also small little cats, and Nkanyeni's just as old. Well, in fact, she's older. So she doesn't have a huge threat there, and much better for her to stay up that side than to come down here and fight with these two younger girls. She's got going to have a tough time with that. I don't think we're going to see Langa coming this side. She seems quite entrenched on Hofmann's these days. And Kupona, or Kleberox is the other name for her. In fact, Kleberox is probably a better name nowadays because she spends all of her time in Mala Mala. Doesn't really come up this way either. So, you know, Subuyi and Kuchava are really the two that are going to have to fight Chitwadam out, unless Tlalamba has cubs and then shifts down this way, which is possible. If Tlalamba has two females, she might end up, you know, moving a little bit this side. But this has never really been Tlalamba's home, Chitwadam. Even as a cub, she was never brought this way. She spent most of her time around the Mulawati. I don't know if you guys can hear, you can hear the night herons calling in the background here. I wonder if this year we're going to hear the wood owls calling. There was wood owls that were calling from behind Chitwadam Wall in this last rainy season, which is very cool. You know, it's not an easy bird to get on camera, and we didn't get it on camera, but we definitely heard them a few times. So it would be nice if this summer they come back and somebody endeavors to find them and picks them up on camera. I think it would be a very cool thing to show you guys. Beautiful little owls, and I love their call. All right, well, we're going to stay with this cat for as long as we can. We'll try and figure out what we can do with kind of infrared and all of that kind of stuff. In the meantime, though, you can take a look at just what it's like to be on a safari with us on Djuma.
Dark Mane went into a drainage, I'm afraid, and it's the Mamba Loop drainage, actually very close to where Tlalamba had her den site, where we first saw her cub, which unfortunately didn't survive. Very close to there. It went into that drainage, and it's just not drivable. Well, it actually is. I've done it before, but it's hairy. and it's not worth getting stuck there. So he's gone south. I don't know where Darkmane's going to end up. Definitely not with the Talamatis, that's for sure. Fascinating to see him move that way. And he actually went to a water hole that's on Mambaloop. There's a little puddle, like Chelapan, but smaller, natural. And he went straight there. He had a look inside and then realized there's no water. And it's amazing. Tristan and I and Michelle actually last night were talking about, I miss being on foot. I miss the days that I did bushwalk. I say this regularly, but I owe Herbie a lot for the guide that I am. And spending those days on foot, that's when you really learn the reserve. And you really learn the game paths, the animal paths, the shortcuts, what's drivable, what's not drivable. You see nests and you see trees and all sorts of things that you maybe miss while on drive. And we used to do bushwalk every day at Djuma, with Herbie and Rickson and Morris, and those were good days. And I miss it. I miss walking the land. I love being on drive, but I just miss getting down and exploring. That's when you really get familiar with the area. And we were saying, once you know the animal paths and the little pans, you can start to predict. For example, Darkmane went down that animal path. You can start to predict where he's going to go. He went straight to that little pan. It was empty, but he went straight there because in his mind he knows that's a water point, and he can probably smell water from the moist soil and the groundwater. So you can sort of start to predict where they're going and what they're doing by which paths they're taking. Okay, a leopard's gone in here. I know there's a pan in there. I know that's where they're going. Or I know there's no pan. I know he's just cutting through. It makes you a far better guide. It was just fascinating that we were having that chat last night around the table, and lo and behold, Darkmane took us on an animal path, straight to a little pan. He's thirsty, he's looking for water. He's just come off a kill. The zebra is crumpled and lying in a heap. Or what was a zebra? And it's just the skin and the hooves now, and a few bones. The hyenas are still not there, which is bizarre because the smell is so strong. And he's left it now, it's abandoned. And he's now looking for water. He's probably going to pop out, but I also just want to explore and see if I can find anything else. And Dennis, in a way yes, in a way no, not directly. In elephants, it's very species dependent, but in elephants, yes, they directly do pass down knowledge. They're teachers, or the matriarch is a teacher. Whereas for the likes of lions, for example, since we've just been with Darkmane, the cubs learn by doing. They learn through observation. So wherever mom goes, they go. They just follow. So naturally, mom or aunts or the rest of the pride will go to these places, and it will sort of imprint in their mind. They'll learn the layout of the land, and they'll learn which place to go to for water, how to smell water, how to find water in the area. So I don't think lions actively pass that knowledge down. I think it's more a case of just when the cubs are young, they learn. They learn by observing and just following and doing what mom and the rest of the pride do. Same with leopards. Even antelope, they just follow. They're just copycats. They just do what mom does, and that's how they learn. Whereas the likes of elephants, they are teachers. They do teach their young. They do invest in sharing that knowledge and passing it down through generations. So I think it's very species specific, really. But good question, Dennis. I liked it. But now that darkness has fallen, I just want to see if I can bump into somebody else. So we're going to do exactly that. Get our spotlight out and try and find some other animals for you.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice daily live safaris from Africa, we launched Sea Forest, Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
All right, well, we're still with her. She's still sitting. There's a spotlight. It is part and parcel of being out here. There's people that obviously pay a lot of money to be out here and can't see things at night without a light. So it is there, and it will be moving around. I'm sorry that it is there. Well, it's unfortunately the way it goes. And ultimately, without that spotlight, we would have to leave her too. We wouldn't be able to stay with her. And it's not like she's hunting or doing anything. She's literally just sitting. So I think it's an okay thing for now. If she does start to move, we'll probably leave her. We can't really do anything. So yeah. We shall see. So nice to hear the night jars. I actually just want to keep quiet so you can hear them calling. Sorry about the people's voices as well, but night jars should drown that out. It's good to hear Jared's informing me that the nightjars are drowning out the voices, which is good. So nice to hear those sounds of nightjars again. And insects. It seems like a hive of activity behind this dam wall this evening in terms of sound. It doesn't seem like she's wanting to move too much. Normally a leopard, if it was on the prowl and looking for food or anything like that, it would be moving by now. I suspect that she's just come here to rest after that kill. She's got a full tummy, there's water here, there's really no need for her to be moving too much. She can just take it very easy and settle for the night, and when the spur of the moment comes, she'll then eventually get up and go. Unless something comes here, maybe she's waiting here because she knows bushbuck and Ngala move around in this area, and there's chances for that. Also in the camp itself, I don't know, but she seems very, very chilled this evening. Like I said, she should have started moving already if she was wanting to actually get up and go. So I suspect that she's just going to be a sleepy cat for the rest of the evening. And because of that, and because of where she's sitting, I don't think a lot of vehicles are going to stay, unfortunately, which means that we, unfortunately, probably not going to be able to stay for too long either. Maybe she'll get up. It'd be nice if she went up onto the dam wall. That'd be very cool. I don't have to shoot such a long distance away. Nasima, there we go. She's up and moving. Looks like she's going up towards the dam wall. So actually can hear us. Nasima, she saw another leopard, would she just get up and run away? No. If it's a male, she'll be quite submissive, but she'll stand her ground. If it's a female, she's going to be aggressive and try and chase them away. So yeah. All right, let's quickly shoot round and try and get up towards the dam wall and see if we can't pick her up there. She's heading up that way. Just watch your head. All right, I'm going to try and get out of here. Let's try and reverse without being blinded. And while I do that, let's send you to Lauren on the move.
Good luck, Tristy. It's not easy. Oh, sorry, Paul. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to tell him that we're going live. I'm doing a really bad job at this. He's not got any comms. I'm sorry. I just keep randomly talking and he looks at me like, oh, we must be live. Anyway, I just wanted to bumble and go a little bit west because night time is here and see what we can find over this side. Maybe nothing, but during this stint, I am determined to find Mr. Tortoise Pan. I've got a leopard list and I want to add him to it. Haven't met him yet. So he's one of the things that I would like to achieve this stint. But keep your questions coming. It's that time of night where we are bumbling. It gets tricky. Darkness is falling. Nothing is easy. But at least we can have a chat. Or, as they say in South Africa, a fat chat. I love it. We don't say that in the UK, but we say it here. Let's have a fat chat. Dimple's smiling. I don't know why it's fat, but let's do it. Let's have a fat chat. Or a hectic fat chat. What about that one? I'm only teasing. The fifth elephant, you're asking about inbreeding in lions. Inbreeding in the animal kingdom does occur naturally. I mean, in humans it's a very separate ball game, and ethics and morals and all sorts of things come into play. But in the animal kingdom it's different. And there's a fascinating topic called kin recognition. And lots of organisms across the board have different ways of recognizing their own kin. Be it visual, be it chemical, be it audio, for that reason to avoid inbreeding. So there are natural mechanisms in the animal kingdom in place to avoid that. But of course, nature's nature. And with the cats, at least with the leopards, they do estimate about 3 generations, and then it starts, and then you start to really see the dire effects of inbreeding. It's not ideal. It's exactly the same for animals as it really is for humans. You can't keep mixing the same gene pool. It's not supposed to be that way. The same sort of DNA, once you mix and mix and mix, it's going to go wrong. Ooh. Summer must be starting. Bugs are flying into my face. Joy. So yes, it's not ideal at all, but it can happen, and it's sustainable-ish up to about 3 generations. And that's a problem with the cheetahs. The cheetah populations reached a bottleneck genetic-wise. And that's why animals do disperse. That's a mechanism. That's a sort of natural mechanism, as well as kin recognition, to avoid inbreeding. Because biological urges and instinct kick in. So if a male, for example, Tingana, smells Kalamba, smells her scent and understands her hormones that she's in estrus, it's a biological instinct to mate. Tingana's not going to think, oh, hold on, that's my daughter. It doesn't work like that in the animal kingdom. So of course they're going to mate, and he will mate because that urge takes over. Females in estrus must mate. So that's why the males do disperse. I got asked the other day, why would Mareebs not just stay with Candy? Of course not. It wouldn't make any sense. He's surrounded by, Kalamba's his half-sister. Kuchava's his half-sister. He doesn't want to be surrounded by the same sort of genetics, and that's why dispersal across the animal kingdom takes place, to move away from your natal area, set up your own area to meet different females. And talking of leopards, I'm going to send you over to Subuyi.
Well, we're still with Subuyi. She was about to jump on a big, massive Ngala bull, but it's too big. I'm just going to use my spotlight just to show Gert where she is. She's there, yeah. So sorry about that, everybody. It's just much easier to point at in the dark. It's very difficult to show somebody something without pointing a light to where she is. She's just in that thicket at the moment. She's gone in there because not only did the Ngala bull run through, but there was also a hyena that was milling about. I think the hyena is just here at the bottom by the tree. Coming up towards us. Amazing, their sense of smell and how quickly they pick up that there's a leopard around. She's literally just gotten up and there's a hyena with her already. And it just goes to show how difficult it is for these cats at night to hunt. They try their very best to stay out of the way of these guys, but it's just, look at this hyena. Look how it's zoning in directly towards where she is. She's in that same thicket. There she comes out the back. She's going back to where we just came from. In fact, she's just going into a deeper, denser area now. So hyena on one side of the thicket, leopard on the other side. And she'll just sit and wait for the hyena to move off. You'll watch what that hyena does. It will walk and then it no longer picks up the scent and it will turn back and come back towards where she is. Try and figure out if she's there. And all it's looking for is not so much the leopard, but it's looking for if the leopard's got a kill anywhere. And that's what it ideally wants. It knows when leopards are around that there's every likelihood that there could be a chance for food, especially at this time of the day. But it also goes to show you how hyenas will respond to the lights. You probably saw the two spotlights and our headlights and came back. She's moving down back into a dense area. Unfortunately, where she's going now is just not possible. We can't follow her there. She was coming out onto the dam wall, but where she's heading now, I'll just go back slightly. Let's see if we can find her there. Behind this tree, but unfortunately there really isn't a way to go into this area. Can you see her there still? Let me just try to use our spotlight quickly. So you got her. So she's somewhere there, or to the right. Anyway, but where she's going, that thicket there is dense and difficult and all the bad things that we're just not going to be able to figure out. All right, hippos, calm down. Hyena's going to come right past us here, Gert. If that visual is not great, then at least you've got another option. Sorry, little hyena. Okay. Is she lying down? Where is she? This side? Or a little bit further? Let me just go back. I think I can see her there. is there. Let's try to signal to the guys just to show them where she is. Like I say, it's easy for us because we don't need a light. All right, well, I think we'll probably let her go from here. I mean, we can't really do much more than this, and it's not the greatest of visual, so we'll probably carry on. We'll go see what else is lurking.
We've just stopped at a tree that seems to be full of vultures. Are we able to get any better views of that one on the right? That's the one. Would you look at that? Ah, such a shame it's in the dark. It looks like the beak of a leopard face, but the head of a white-headed. I think it's a white-headed vulture, which is unusual. That's a really unusual species. Are there any on the other side? I can see some eye shine. Ah, that's the hooded. And a white-backed. Oh my goodness, that's a white-backed, not a white-headed, on the lower branch. And then on the upper branch, that's a hooded. And then I think yeah, there's another one. That's a hooded. Wow. That looks like 3 different species to me. That's really impressive. Why are they here? I'm sure this is a white-headed. I could be wrong. I'm willing to accept that I'm wrong because we're looking through infrared. But I would put my money on white-headed. Well, this is very cool. I don't know if I need to probably explore this area and see if there's something dead. Although they are settling down for the night naturally. But still. Isn't that magical, driving by and finding vultures by night? This is the coolest sighting, really. 3 different vulture species in a tree. Just at Impala Plains. Now, they are settling down for the night, but just the fact that they're in this area just makes me a little bit suspicious. You see the white back? Look at the eye shine. It's very cool. I'm just going to get my spotlight out. But it doesn't mean that there's a carcass or anything dead directly underneath. They could just be resting. I just find it really fascinating that there's 3 different species from what I can see. I don't smell anything. Look at the white back, look at the beak. I think I'm just going to bumble around this area just to see if I'm missing anything. I mean, there's Impala behind us on Impala Plains, which is great. And they look really chilled. I know where most of the lions are. You don't tend to find vultures at a leopard carcass. Not really. Okay, I'm just going to scratch around this area, see if I can see anything. And for now, back over to Tristan.
Well, while Lauren scratches around the area and sees if she can find anything, we've just been managed to get a decent visual of Subuyi for now. This is the only gap that there's going to be, and if she moves from here, then that's done. So we'll see what happens. I think she's going to lay down for a little while now with hyenas right here and on her tail. The chance for her to hunt and do anything is completely not there, so she's just going to sit tight, wait, and then when it gets quieter and calmer, up and start to move again. I think. So we'll see how that goes a little bit later. I'm pretty sure she's not going to move too much, though. I think the reality is that she's pretty settled for now. But we'll just have to wait. It's quite funny with that Ngala bull. It would have been craziness if she'd actually jumped on it. But the Ngala got away and Hyena arrived at the same time, and it was all just chaos for 1 second, and then everything just calmed right down. Moving. Which way?
Into the block.
Into the block. Oh, delightful. That is it for us, I'm afraid, Gert. That we are not going to get through this. I'm sure Gert will show you now, if he comes wider, what this looks like. It is a wall of vegetation, and we are not going to go down that road, I'm afraid. That is not a place for Rusty to go in the dark, and that is not even a place for Rusty to go in the light. So we shall not be doing that, I'm afraid. But we did have a nice sighting of her, at least. It was fairly decent. Just got to try and not impale anybody on the way out here. It's not an easy place to negotiate, even now at this time of the day. And where I went in was fairly easy, but it's quite tricky because you've got to do a lot of turns. Alright, I'm going to try and see if I can get out of here. Try, being an operative word. In the meantime, let's send you across to Lauren, who's still scratching about.
Nothing so far. Yeah, it's just fascinating. I mean, I'm not bunda bashing without alarm calls or a smell. Not at this time of night, but I haven't seen a white-headed vulture in a long time. They're the least common of the vultures that we see here. I've never seen a lappet face in this area. In the Masai Mara, yes. But you only really see mostly the white bat and the hoodie. They're the most common ones you see in this area. But I'm just going to do a loop because, well, you never know. It was Ngwazi that followed Subuyi, Michael Fleetwood. Thank you. I love getting updates on the other person's sighting. Okay. So Ngwazi clearly got up, went into Chitwa and followed the leopard. Oh, Ngwaz. What a character. You know, him and Shimbulu had the most loveliest of relationships, and I am probably anthropomorphizing. I'm honest enough to say that, and I am probably looking at it from a very human perspective because I'm a human. But there was just very little aggression between them. I mean, they wrestled. They will always wrestle. But compared to Gingarika and Pumela, very little aggression. They were really gentle with one another. They were both boys. I don't know if that makes a difference. Naturally, the boys... Ah! A white-tailed mongoose. No. Oh, Impo. That was big. there is Impo, there. I'm so excited. You got it? I'm going to quickly spotlight it again for the location. Oh, there we go. Well done, Impo. Hello, mongoose. Aren't they just amazing? I got such a fright there, I couldn't get the words out. And we saw a slender earlier as well, knocking off the mongoose species here. See, I can see nothing. Impo can see it through the IR, and you guys can see, but I can see nothing with my naked eye, nothing. We're literally only able to see this animal because of infrared. It's gone. I know, and as soon as I turn on the engine. But we got it, Impo got it. As soon as I turn on this engine. But I'm gonna try anyway. I remember reading some comments one day, why doesn't Lauren see what's in quarantine? Why didn't she see that? Because I see darkness. Literally, turn off the IR light, Impo. Yeah, that's what I see. Darkness. Nicely done. Look at that, spectacular views. 5 out of 5. So it's really, really difficult. It's only when you can follow the animal with the infrared and your spotlight are you able to see it. And it's such a fantastic tool, really. It's probably the best thing I love about the job is the infrared. Okay, nocturnal sighting. Ticked off the list. And for those of you, if you've never seen a white-tailed mongoose before, they are nocturnal. And they're quite rare. They're not... No, rare is wrong. They're just not very obliging to the camera. Okay, let's continue on our nocturnal bundle thing.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
For me, the best part about being a guide is being able to live out in Africa's wild places and being able to share that with people. Of all the challenges, for me, the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with is the game drive. I think that's what I do most days, so that would probably be what I feel like I'd do the best at. It's like someone's put little Lego blocks up there and made this perfect little sort of statue, and there's another one further along as we drive. One of the challenges I'm the most nervous about would probably be shooting. I think on the day there's always quite a bit of pressure and intimidation, always associated with it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I hope I'll win this competition, but if I don't, it's still been an experience of a lifetime, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of really, really cool people.
We've seen these ellies really chase wild dogs before. Let's get into spot. There we go, here it comes. Look at that, isn't that amazing?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Well, it seems like our hyena is moving off. We're going to probably have to move off too. Just want to see one thing quickly before we move off, Kat. If we turn the camera, I'm going to turn the car as well. If we turn the camera and face southwards a little bit, does it show up what's happening at the moment? Can you see it or not really? This coloration in the sky. Can you see that there's a lighter patch or not? You can. So it's super weird. As a wind is kicked up, there's a big cloud bank, and what you won't be able to see, because obviously it's in infrared, but what you'll see is a lighter patch within this dark. Now that in real life is this eerie red color. I have no idea what's causing that. Normally when you see red like that, it's a massive fire that's broken out, but I have got no updates on fires on any of the groups that I'm on to the south. So I mean, that is in the direction of Mala Mala. But it looks like if that is a fire, it would even be south of that, so maybe somewhere like Toulon, Skukuza, somewhere that area. But it's got this very red coloration, and it's not the sun. We know the sun sets in the west, so this is from the south that there's this red coloration. So I have no idea what's causing that phenomenon. It's died a little bit in its redness. It was much worse a little bit earlier on. It had a very deep, rich red when we were with Subuyi, but it's definitely softened and lightened up now in many ways. Interesting though. All right, and we're going to head out of this area. I can see all the cars coming back to the camp now. Like I say, I don't want to be here and have lights on and all kinds of other nonsense. It's just the time of the day also where guests go and shower, and the last thing we need is a camera pointing in that direction. You never know if somebody uses an outdoor shower or something like that. It can just make things very awkward very quickly. And Chitwa is always so kind to us with their tolerance of where we park and what we do. Even this little track here, this is off limits for everybody else besides us and Chitwa. So, you know, they give us a lot of concession here, so I don't want to abuse it and give them cause to start rethinking about how much they allow us to do and where they allow us to go. They also put us in lineups before others if we're on Chitwa, so you know, we need to respect that and not abuse it, and therefore when it's time to go, it's time to go. I'm afraid if it was behind the dam wall or anything like that, that's perfectly fine, but at this time of the day, I'm afraid we need to move on. Couple waterbuck, couple impalas, the usual suspects on a nighttime jaunt on Chitwa open area, and they're going to all be a little weary now. There's been a lot of alarm calls of guinea fowl, there's a hyena walking around, probably the smell of dead in the form of waterbuck, as well as a wind that's kicked up. A lot of things to make them very nervous. Alright, we're going to head out of Chitwa. We'll head probably back onto Djuma, see what we can see. In the meantime, let's send you to Lauren, who's also on the move.
Oh yes, Tristan, outdoor showers. Definitely not something you want to see. We have had a few hiccups on drives, but that story's for another day. Now, I am headed somewhere. I just don't know if I'm going to make it on time. You know me, I can floor it when I want to, so let's try. I just want to be really sensitive of everything going on around me, so I'm not going to look back at the camera, or you guys. I just want to make sure there's no eye shine anywhere as I'm trying to get from point A to B. we've still got about half an hour left, so we're going to try naturally. Jared, are you still there? I just want to check if you've still got you. In a very, very long time. I don't know if we're still live, but we're still going to keep racing. You got a while out. We're miles out, but I'm still going to.
Well, I'm just aiding Kat a little bit here because we have a little white-tailed mongoose, so she's, well, he or she is moving around in the thickets, but it's a little bit on the edge of our IR range. So if you do see a light, it's just to give you guys a little view of the mongoose. Can you see it nicely there? Seems like it's stopped.
The sticks there.
Behind the sticks, wonderful. And running off now. Okay, well, there was a white-tailed mongoose that was there. They never stick around for very long at all. Alrighty, let's start heading slowly back onto Djuma. And we just got onto Gari Main now. We'll try and see what we can find along the way. It's windy and blustery, and so I think what we're going to find is a lot of animals on the fire break, and then from there it will be quite quiet between the sort of fire break areas because of the scrub. Is it scrub? Yeah. Because of the wind, everything's going to try and get into as much of an open position as possible, and so that they don't get eaten. At the end of the day, being out in the open is not great for being seen, but you can also see yourself. So if you're out in a clear area like this, the problem of cats is far diminished. Is that even, that's not even English. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm tired this evening, so my English might not be that good. But yeah, it's greatly diminished. They can see cats coming, and so it's much, much, much safer for them on these fire break areas. The cats, well, they'll move between them and try and find things. I mean, like Subuyi, she went into that little thicket. And she's going to be looking for things like duiker and scrub hares. Actually, funny enough, when we left that area with Subuyi, I saw a duiker, and that's why I actually didn't try even remotely relocate on her. You can hear hyenas calling. Calling now. They're calling from where Darkman had that zebra. But yeah, so I don't like disturbing cats when they're hunting, and that block is too thick to follow, and all we're going to do is serve to give her a hard time. And ultimately, if we leave her now and she manages to catch something like a duiker, then she puts it in a tree there. We have sightings for the next 2-3 drives, rather than just trying to follow her for the sake of half an hour, only to disrupt her night. So I often have an opinion at night when cats are hunting and they're in big blocks or they're off-road, just to let them go. Lions are slightly different. The pride dynamic and the way that they split out and all those kinds of things means that their attention is not always in one place when you're off-roading. But with leopard, it's one animal, and so if you're following that animal, then everything else is going to look where you are, and you're only giving its position away. If you ever out here and you hear a vehicle off-roading, you'll hear the clattering and clanging at night, and it's no chance that other animals don't realize that there's something being followed through there. So I'm always a big exponent of let's let it go, let's let it do its thing. If they're sleeping and they're relaxed, then that's fine. By all means, have 3 vehicles in the sighting, enjoy it, do it. But if there is, in any shape or form, some sort of hunting behavior, I'm always of the opinion, just let it go. There's no need for that. We see leopards enough not to disrupt them. hunting as well. Because they're slightly different. And you can follow, and generally they're quite spread, and it's okay. Alright, we're going to try and just get through the Mulawati quickly. We'll see what's lurking for us on the other side.
We're just going to stop for a moment. We don't have much to show you, but we are just going to stop and listen. I love to listen at nighttime. The sounds are so different from the day. I don't know if you guys will be able to pick it up, but I think I'm going to choose this spot to stop and just listen. There's definitely not much to see, but it's not a visual exercise. Just pay attention to the sounds of the bush at nighttime. Isn't it nice just sitting here listening? My mission did not work, I'm afraid, but we are going to bumble a little bit closer to home. Quarantine those areas, Gowrie Dam. We can all be very productive at night time, so that's where I'm headed. Twin Dams Road, Gowrie Dam, then quarantine, see what we can find. I hate it when you're at one side of the reserve and all the action happens in the other. It's not a huge reserve, but it's also huge when you're trying to get from A to B.
Oh, sorry everybody. There's no... Sometimes it happens out here. We have signal issues and things like that, and if we get these big winds like this, sometimes it can just disrupt everything. I was also saying earlier that we've got load shedding in this area. Sorry, my mistake. Not load shedding, load reduction. It's a difference, apparently, according to the state electrical provider. There's a difference between the two. One you can complain about, the other one you must just deal with, apparently, and only in certain areas, which is the one we've got currently. The rest of the country is not under any sort of load shedding, just this area, and it's very, very regular. In fact, probably about 4 times a week that we get it. Besides all of that, though, we are bumbling on the southern boundary at the moment. I'm going to take drive up Zoe's Road, check that side just in case by some randomness should Deleuze around or Tortan. Lauren was talking about him earlier. I also had tracks from Willowati this morning in this area, and we know at night sometimes you can get lucky and spot that cat and you'll be okay. So we'll just have a little look and see if we get lucky there. But it's with the wind, I don't know, I think cats are going to be pretty busy hunting now, and all the prey animals are going to be fearful for their life. They're going to not want anything to do with these thickets. Alright, let's see if it stayed. I don't know if it did. I'm not sure if it's a leaf or a scorpion. I just want to try and get round it, so hopefully we're not going to squash said scorpion. It was on the left hand side here, so try to go back and avoid the zebra wood so we don't get a puncture. Is that, did somebody hit already? See what that is, Kat? Or a wasp, maybe. Oh, somebody's hit a wasp, unfortunately. Sorry, I thought it was maybe a little scorpion. Often in this kind of weather, when you get a bit of a wind coming up after a bit of rain, you get what's called a glabrifrons. Episthythalmus glabrifrons come out, very, very, very aggressive scorpion.
Sorry about that, everyone. You're back with me. Oh, that doesn't sound very healthy. I said earlier, but I'm not sure if I was live or not, that Darkmane is back on the zebra skin. Can you believe it? I mean, there really was nothing there other than skin, but he's determined. He's absolutely determined. So I think he went to Twin Dams. Would that have been the nearest water point? Yes, you know, I think it would be, unless there's a little pan inside the drainage that I don't know about. I think he went to Twin Dams, had a drink, and then came back. Tristan's checking Zoe's, I'm checking this road between the two of us. We really should, if there's anything lurking, find it. Blue Hawk, you're asking if a lion tooth break, does it grow back? Just like us. Your teeth are your teeth. We have our baby teeth or our milk teeth, same as lions, and then your adult teeth. That's it. And normally when you do look at adult males, you'll see they're chipped, and many lions are missing teeth. Many, especially as they get older. And no, they will not grow back. Some lions, there's a lion in the Masai Mara. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe some of you will know who I'm talking about, and it's actually hanging out, so it's hanging on by a thread. Well, it actually must be bigger than a thread, to be honest, for it to still hang there, and it's just hanging out the side of the mouth. Yeah, not so nice to think about. But no, they do not grow back. The lions don't generally really crunch on bones the way hyenas do. But they can easily knock out a tooth, just like our teeth can fall out. I used to love pulling my baby teeth out when I was younger, my milk teeth. So I was always excited to see the tooth fairy. Well, I didn't see her. You know what I mean. She visited me and left me a pound under my pillow. Jerome, throw me under the bus here. Why didn't I think of that? You're saying you wonder why teeth haven't evolved at this point in time to grow back. I know. That would really put the dental industry out of business, huh? If we could just knock a tooth out and it would grow back. They would definitely go out of business. All that money people are spending on veneers and crowns and fake teeth. Yeah, I wonder, Jerome, I do not know. Evolution, it moves slowly. And I'm not talking about the theory of evolution and all that. I'm just talking about we are constantly changing. We are evolving. There's no denying that, as are the species moving with the environment. And it goes back to that sort of Alice through the looking glass theory, you know. Alice is running, constantly running, right? But when she looks around, she's not got any further. She's still standing next to this knobthorn on this junction. How can that be? And the sort of essence of that is yes, Alice is running, but the environment is also running with her. And what that means is that we are changing, the environment's changing, everything's changing together in a sort of evolutionary sense. But it's a very, very slow process. It doesn't happen quickly. So maybe, Jerome, in 100 years, that will be the case. We can grow back our teeth, as can the animals out here. It's fascinating to think of. I got asked a question about that last night, and it's great. Just to think, maybe in 100 years' time, where will we be? How will we be? Will we look the same? Will the animals look the same? And I had a discussion at Marataba, I think I touched on this last night, that it is, imagine, you know, this evolutionary arms race. You never know, in a couple of 100 years' time, the impala might be the predators. The impala might be the ones hunting things. The lions might go herbivorous. And it's highly unlikely that that'll happen, but you never know what changes are going to take place, especially in this evolutionary game. The Red Queen, I love reading about it. A little chess piece. So many players are constantly moving in one game. Nothing is static. And that's what we must always remember out here. Animals are changing, but so is the environment. And then you throw humans in the mix, and it makes things even more complicated because we destroy, we change, we tamper, we kill, we pollute. Oh, Scrubby, I didn't see you there. I'm sorry. Why are you sitting like that? I don't think sitting at the side of the road is a very good idea. Would you like to cross? I'm giving you right of way. Hear the sounds of the night. You think nighttime everything was quiet, hush. Everything comes alive. wind's picking up. It must be terrifying for a little scrub here. Kevin, you love their huge non-blinking eyes. It can be pretty scary at times when you look at that. But their eyes are obviously huge because they're nocturnal. You generally tend to find that the nocturnal animals have bigger eyes to allow for more light collection. To see in the dark, basically. As well as eating carrots. You gotta eat your carrots. I don't even know if that's true. My mother just told me that. Eat carrots and you'll be able to see in the dark. Scrub hairs are totally underrated. And it must be terrifying. They will hear the lions calling from Mamba Road. They'll hear the Talamatis from Tamborti Dam. They'll hear the leopard sawing that Tristan's going to bump into soon on Zoe's road. They'll hear the predators. They know that they're surrounded. They'll hear the whoops. They'll hear the footsteps. And they know at any moment it could be them. Oh, highly mobile animal. No, I think it would be a jolly good idea. There we go. Perfect. That is the best idea that could have happened. Thank you, Scrubby. I don't like it when they're on the road. Okay, we're gonna bumble around quarantine and see what else we can find for the night.
Guiding as an industry has become, over time more and more professional and more recognized as a profession rather than just a hobby. And so to be recognized for that professionality is really kind of it's humbling, really, to be able to say that. It's definitely birding is the thing that I feel most comfortable with in terms of categories that we have here. At least comfortable. I mean, you never know how you're going to shoot on a particular day. You can have a good day where you blast everything as you need to, in terms of the targets, and then you can have a shocker where you just, miss a single shot here or there, and that's basically the end of your day. To be considered for such an experience is really a powerful thing, and so I'm here just to have a lot of fun and experience what the competition's all about.
It just pretended to be dead. Oh, that was amazing. I can't. How do I hold this back? That is hands down the coolest.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
This is so epic. I'm hoping some of you can confirm it's either an eagle owl or a rose. I mean, it's very large, it's standing tall. It's just very difficult to tell from I'm not really got a good visual. And Judy, no, Judy, you just sent me a video. Oh, no, I don't know why my director didn't tell me. Or Impo, you're in trouble, Impo. There was a huge bug crawling up my back while I was live. Did you see it? Look at this video that Judy sent. We're still live on board, just in case you don't realise. Oh, thank you, Judy. Now I've got the heebie-jeebies looking at that. Oh, it's crawling right into my hair as well. Anyway. Have we got any answers on the owl? I mean, I would love to drive a little bit closer, but you know how it's going to go, everyone. An owl standing in the middle of the road. By the time we get any closer, it's going to fly away. Look at you just standing so pretty and tall. Oh, I think it's an eagle. Oh, it's bodied. The rows do have a different eye shape. But look at those legs. Getting ready to hunt. And boy, do they hunt. Listening to the sounds of the night, not through the ear tufts. Those feathers are not for hearing. It's such a misconception that those things sticking up are ear tufts, so they must be for hearing, but they're not. They have ear drums and ear holes at the side of their face. And you see that black line, just where our ears are, to be honest, but it's just a hole. There's obviously no cartilage external part that we have. And they don't sit in alignment. I guess neither do ours, but they sit, one ear hole sits higher than the other, and that's to compensate for any sort of differences in sound, to allow the owl to get a better and more accurate interpretation of the sound that it's trying to listen to. So it gives for a better gauge of direction and distance. Oh, Judy, I can't stop thinking about that bug now. Oh, oh, oh. Did it catch something? Wowza. That was really cool. Yeah, it looked like it caught something, but I don't know. It must have been something small, most likely an insect. Darian, what they tend to do, owls, they are essentially raptors because they grab with their talons and they swoop down on their prey, and it's normally prey that is very close to the ground. They don't attack birds in mid-air sort of thing. They do swoop down and grab their prey. So this owls obviously just came down here to have a look at what's going on. They can sort of walk, if you like, and it's constantly turning its head, assessing the situation, looking for food. And maybe it swooped down to catch something and didn't get so lucky. So it's just resting on the ground here and hoping that something's going to run in front of his path. Look at that head. Swivel, swivel, swivel. Those legs, though. Maybe it's just resting, trying to figure out whatever it had in mind. Where's it gone? It's so cute. The insect life has already flourished in the space of a few days. Really, things are changing around here. I've seen centipedes, I've seen millipedes, I've seen all sorts of beetles. Spiders around camp. I know they're not technically insects, but sometimes you can just use the term insects and just group them all together just to make it a little bit easy. Hazy, you're saying, do owls only eat other animals, meaning are they carnivorous? And yes. Absolutely, they're not herbivorous. They won't snack on a light bite of vegetation or a delicious leaf. And they're predators, they're aerial predators, expert hunters, and carnivores. You know, they can swoop down on scrub hares, kill scrub hares, dwarf mongoose, white-tailed mongoose, any sort of reptilian delight that might be roaming about in the night, maybe not able to move because it's cold. Rodents, bush vulture, and insects. Insects will make up a bulk of their diet as well. A good dash of protein. Bush babies. Spotted eagle owls are known to attack and kill bush babies out of the tree. This is such a cool ending to what has been a really fantastic drive. From hyenas, Subuyi, Darkmane, Mrs. Wig. Are you one of the wigs? It's those legs. I can't stop laughing at them. It's just interested. It's interested on everything that's going on around it. I'm surprised it's not flown off since we are here. We've obviously turned off all the lights, but maybe it is one of the wigs. Leopard activity in the next few days. Only really managed to catch up with Tandy and Malibs. It was a great sighting, but I'd like to catch up with more. Oh, and off we go. Into the night. And just like that, with only a handful of seconds to go, we're just going to show you the landscape through the infrared light. And of course it has come to that time where we must go and get dinner. And you guys must continue with your day. But thank you so much for jumping on board. All your comments, all your questions, and please do join us tomorrow for the sunrise safari. Until then, good night.